language and culture.
Beginning of something good. I love that. That moment before the rain falls. I mean, we're used to that moment here in the UK, clearly, but not today. It is glorious. And tell me a little bit about your group, because you started during the pandemic, didn't you?
Yeah, obviously the idea was with us many years, but it was during COVID that we realized that more people were needed to get active to deal with their mental health issues, especially during lockdown. And it was a perfect moment to launch what we thought about many years. So we started with the walking group, actually, with Somali women in South London, and then we developed a running group, and then we obviously got athletics and football activities for kids. So we're developing our programs over the last 3 years. We've got 5 major programs, which includes also traditional board games all around the world. So we do that in schools as well.
Fantastic. Why is it important to have this group for the East African diaspora? Is it one of those where actually maybe some people from that group don't feel welcome or don't feel like it's appropriate for them to be part of another group?
Not necessarily. I think the key thing was really historically these communities have become, are more less active compared to that way nationwide. So it was more really to get people to become more active. That's the whole idea behind it, to feel healthier and happier and to connect with others. And my background is in running, so it felt natural to start with that. But
Hello and welcome to the Big Half 2023. It's a festival of running that celebrates community and diversity right here in one of the world's greatest cities. And it focuses on 4 particular London boroughs: Lewisham, Greenwich, Southwark and Tower Hamlets. We get to see some of the elites, some of the best athletes in the country taking part here, including Sir Mo Farah in his penultimate race before retirement and his last race right here on these London streets. But also, of course, it's about the charity, the charitable element here, people taking part in the mass event and also raising money for incredible causes. But out on the course today, we've got our very own crowd pleaser, someone who's taking it in, soaking up the atmosphere. It's Casa Alom.
Yes, Jeanette, thank you so much. I am going to be here talking to everyone, trying to be everyone's hype man, but the looks on so many people's faces, they're focused, they're determined, they want to have a brilliant time, and I am here for that as well. It's going to be fantastic. None more so than track superstar Perry Shake Straighten, who is looking forward to having a great time, but also raising money, raising awareness for a really good cause as well.
Yes, I'm out here again. Good morning, everybody. To run the streets of London. Obviously, I'm a sprinter, that's my background, but I have been kind of dabbling in the distance kind of running. I've done a London Marathon early on this year in April, and I'm here today to be a part of the big relay. So I'm going to run 5K, but it's all in aid of the Lloyd Cowan bursary. Lloyd was a coach on the GB team, British athletics team. He didn't coach me, but he coached Christine. Unfortunately, we lost him, but this bursary is about raising money. It's grants that are available for young children, young athletes, should I say, and coaches, just to kind of get that start and support in the athletics career.
And he was so inspirational and helped so many athletes, like I said, Christine Horogu,
Yes.
so many people just achieve their dreams and that potential. And for him, something like this, where you have so many people from different communities coming here, getting involved, the next star could be here, that would mean a lot for him, wouldn't it?
It's exactly that. It is basically, Lloyd was that guy, I used to call him Uncle, because he was like that reassurance, someone that looked familiar, very warming, very supportive. And even though he didn't coach me, he very much wanted me to do well. You know, he's very supportive of my coach as well. And the fact that we have this bursary available for, you know, local London children to kind of get that support, because let's be honest, that support is not always there, and you just need that little bit of change, just kind of get maybe for your spikes, maybe for your transport and your travel. I mean, I know when I was younger, I would get grants before I got any kind of sponsorship. So things like this, I think, are very important. It's a great cause, and I'm glad I can use my legs still to help.
I mean, you look like you could still be going pros. That's all I'm saying. But on that situation, I mean, you usually finish the relays. This one, you're going to be starting, taking in the crowd at the start. It's going to be fun.
Yes, it is going to be fun. Yes, like you say, I'm usually the finisher. Yeah, but this time I'm starting it, you know, for the group. We've got Christine running, we've got Yannick running, we've got Amber.
Well, go and have a brilliant one. We can hear it all there. Perry, really good to talk to you. Best of luck, and I'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you very much.
The streets of London have an action-packed couple of hours ahead. We start shortly, 8:25 in fact, with the men's and women's wheelchair races. Then at 8:30 is the turn of the elite men and women as they take to the streets here in London. Then we turn our attention to the mass runners, the people that make this event so great, the clubs, the communities and the charities. But before we start all of that, we're going to catch up with one of our greatest ever athletes, a man who's on the road to retirement, his last ever race in London. We caught up with Sir Mo Farah.
Sunday's going to be quite an emotional day. It's going to be my last race in London. Getting closer and closer to retirement. It's a bit weird feeling.
Welcome back to the most decorated British athlete in history, Sir Mo Farah.
I will miss it 100%. Because that's what makes me happy and that's what makes me enjoy myself. But again, I'm looking forward on the other side, being able to spend time with my kids, being involved in everything they do, and maybe the school runs, birthday parties. Throughout the years, I spent a lot of time away from my kids. Often when I was at my best, it involved me being away 6 months of the year. Without the support and the people I've had in my life, it wouldn't be the same, particularly my wife, who's given me back so much time and looking after the kids while I've been away for years and years. It's going to be harder, and even talking about it for me just go, ugh. My kids are excited. My son is probably not as excited because he wants to see me go out there and win more races, and he's always going, Dad, you can win, and he tries to motivate me more and more. But the girls kind of do miss me a lot, and they want me to be involved in their sports or in their schools, so they're looking forward having me around more.
This is a superb performance from Farah.
He will be lapping up the support.
For Mo, I think that's more than job done.
I'll miss London. There's no city like London in the whole world. It has so much history itself, London, and to make that history that night in the Olympics final, that Super Saturday, was incredible. And throughout my career, you know, after winning London 2012, that's what kept me going, that feeling I had, you know, winning in London, that's what kept me pushing to go further and to be better than any other athletes and keep fighting for it. And again, I've run around the streets of London since I was under 13, and then come back here again in the London Marathon so many years, even last year itself, to take part in the big half. All these races, must have done about 20 plus races in London, so again, I will miss this city. Come on, London, just for you. Goodbye, my friends. That's what we'll say, Sunday.
Beautiful words there from Sir Mo Farah, and there's been so much, as he said there, sacrifice, support from his family as well. The likes of Tanya, Hussein, Amani and Aisha here. Lovely to have you all here for what is going to be Sir Mo Farah's last race in London. How are you feeling today?
Oh gosh, it's hard to say. We're just on the walk over here to the start line. The kids and I were talking about some of Dad's previous races where they were just babies, and now the twins are 11, and Hussein's about to turn 8, and here we are again in London. It just feels like deja vu, but at the same time, it's quite emotional to think this is the last time ever.
And he said so many times just how much he's had to given up, not being around for the kids, for you, and how much support you guys have offered. How proud are you of what he's achieved though with all that?
We work together as a team, so of course we're immensely proud of what he's done, and we both have sacrificed a lot, but that's what it takes. And so when we look back on his career, we have no regrets. We can say we threw everything at it, and the two of us, we did what we both do best. So it's been good.
Whole family of runners as well. Clearly, you guys are running as well. Is this something that you're just going to have to get used to and carry on with these in the future as well?
Gosh, yeah, it's a different perspective watching your kids race, and even Mo says he finds it so difficult watching the kids. He now gets to experience what I've been experiencing, in that you've got no control. But seeing the kids run now, it's amazing because they love running because of their dad. They want to try and be as good as their dad, and I mean, you couldn't really ask for more. They love running. It's not something that we've chosen. They've chosen it. And to see them try and follow in their dad's footsteps is amazing.
Yeah, and for you to follow in your dad's footsteps, what would that mean? How incredible would that be for you?
Just to make him proud as much as I can and always work hard to achieve what I can.
Well, I'm sure all of you make him proud already, but yeah, absolutely, if you run as well in that situation, follow his footsteps, totally. Very quickly at the end, any personal highlights? I mean, he mentioned, obviously, the 2012 Olympics and how that changed everything. Is that what stands out for you across his career?
Definitely, 2012 is what changed our lives, really, and it will definitely be the most memorable success of his career. I also vividly remember the feelings of watching him race in the 10K in Rio 2016, because that was when he fell over and we thought it was all over. And it's moments like that that make you appreciate what he's achieved, because it could have all been ripped up. You know, the script could have gone out the window through something that was out of his control, and yet he came back, he bounced back and continued winning even after that race. And I think for me, those two moments are the most memorable.
Tanya, Hussein, Amani, Aisha, soak it all in. Be incredibly proud because you totally deserve this day, this moment, and this incredible career.
Thank you.
Well, best of luck to Sir Mo. It is a glorious morning here on the start in East London. The men's and women's wheelchair races are imminent. So let's hand you to your commentary team this morning of Hannah England and Lewis Moses.
Good morning and thanks, Jeanette. It does look absolutely wonderful down there on the start line and lovely to hear from the Farah family. And it's going to be an emotional day for them and an emotional day for us seeing Sir Mo Farah run his last race here on the streets of London. But we've got some elite races going as well. These are the wheelchair athletes there down there ready to go. And if you do want to get involved along with us today, you can join us on social media with the hashtag #WeRunAsOne and hashtag #TheBigHalf. So if you want to get involved and send in your comments on the day and what you're seeing, or perhaps give someone a good luck shout out, or highlight if you're running for a charity and you're down there, that would be great. But we do have 4 elite races coming up, 2 for the wheelchairs and 2 for the men and women. We're going to whiz through those start lists. My name is Hannah England. I'm delighted to be joined by Lewis Moses. And Lewis, it looks like it could be a cracking morning here in London.
It's a stunning morning, isn't it, Hannah? Doesn't seem that long ago we were here for the London Marathon. The summer has flown by, but it very much looks like the summer still here in London, and a lovely start list with the women's wheelchair list on the screen in front of you. Samantha Kinghorn, Eden Rainbow and Cooper. We're going to pick out a few of those as we go, and we're going to have the walk forwards as well, where we'll introduce the athletes.
So that is a quick look at the elite women wheelchairs. There's a quick look at the elite men's for the wheelchairs. It is actually the British Championships today as well. We are going to crown our British half marathon champions across all 4 races. David Weir and Danny Sidbury have been promised a hot head-to-head between those two. It'll be interesting to see how the likes of John Boy Smith and Michael McCabe get involved in that race as well. So the athletes just grabbing a quick chat there. And this is ideal conditions for wheelchair racing. I think we saw a bit colder, a bit wetter at London Marathon, and that plays havoc with your conditions. When you're trying to keep your hands warm, you're trying to push, you're trying to do your very best race. This is a much nicer morning for these athletes to wake up to.
It's a stunning morning. It's going to get quite warm out there, I think, Hannah, as the morning goes on. But as you say, the last conditions we've seen in London for the wheelchair athletes, it was rather tricky, wasn't it, without those wet conditions? And you can see the athletes ready to go, and they'll be appreciative of that sunshine, I'm sure. Interested in the white selection, the white tops, always a little bit cooler with those white sleeves on there, although we do have the dark colours there. There's Eden Rainbow Cooper.
Eden Rainbow Cooper, the 2022 Commonwealth Games Marathon silver medalist. She actually won last year, so keep your eye out for Eden Rainbow Cooper. She should have a good race alongside Samantha Kinghorn, we saw a few seconds ago. This is Daniel Sidbury, the 2022 Commonwealth Games silver medalist, over 1,500. He's very competent on the roads as well. He's in good shape, and he will surely have a fantastic battle with this man. David Weir, 6-time Paralympic gold medalist. He's a legend on the track and on the roads. He's been focusing on the roads just a tiny bit more in the last year or so. We haven't seen much action on the track from David Weir, but he won here last year, and he is the course record holder.
Isn't it great to see the Farah family out here on the streets of London? The next generation, it is Mo's swan song today, but his family are here to support him, and I'm sure we will see them over the coming years, toeing the line in many races. We've already started to see the pictures and the videos on social media of them at school sports and the likes. Mo getting goaded into the parents' race, of course. And the crowd's also starting to build up. Hannah, it'll be interesting to see. I think the crowds will come out for Mo this morning. I think, you know, it's his last run in the capital. We know he has Great North next week, and they will get behind him in the northeast. He's a very popular figure up there. But I think London, with it being his home city, they will be out in force this morning for him.
on a day like this as well. It's a wonderful mass participation race. We should have around about 16,000 people on the streets of London today. And I wonder how many of them will have that feeling as well, that they're following Sir Mo Farah on his very last race around the streets of London. I'm sure the elite field, particularly those elite men, getting another chance to race someone like Sir Mo Farah, that's very, very special for them. To run alongside him, and they're going to try and beat him as well. I think that could be a real special moment for our elite men.
I was thinking back to 2012, you know, where Tanya said it really changed things. And now we're, you know, 11 years on from that. And those people who are maybe 10, 11 now are maybe competing against him today, which is incredible for them. So, a quick look at the elite women's start list this morning. You can see British interest everywhere. Is the British champs, as Hannah mentioned. Steph 12. We're hoping that Steph has got, she's had a few travel issues over the last couple of days, as have many across this last week. Cali Thackery's in there, Clara Evans, Lucy Reed, Lily Partridge, Naomi Mitchell, Lauren Hayes, who here is in good shape, Annabelle Gummo, Kate Esley and Rose Harvey. That is the top 10 of your elite women's start list this morning.
So the wheelchairs are due off at 8:30. That's our start time, so coming up in around about 3 or 4 minutes. And these men will go 5 minutes afterwards. The men and the women will go together. There's our first look at the full elite men's start list, headed by, of course, Sir Mo Farah. Jack Rowe has been having a very good track season, and he's back now for the road season. Johnny Mellor, actually the only athlete in this men's elite start with the qualifying time for the World Athletics Road Running Championships. We'll get into that as the morning progresses, but this is a trial for that World Road Running Championships as well. And Mohammed and his brother Zach Mohammed are both on this start list. They've been training hard up in Ethiopia. It'll be interesting to see how those two go. And Phil Sessman, a superstar from the London Marathon, he's finished fantastically well in that event over the last few years. And Andrew Butchart, with his much anticipated marathon debut coming up in New York, goes today over half the distance.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how Butchie gets on, you know, dropped down the distances to 10K, British champion at Highgate this summer, and now he's stepping back up the distances and going for the big one, 26.2. And there's our first glimpse, Hannah, of the man himself. It is going to be the Mo show this morning, isn't it? And good to see Steph on the screen there as well. She has got here. She was in Chamonix yesterday, catching a glimpse of UTMB, Ultra Trail de Mont Blanc, but she is back in London. I'm glad she managed to get here because, by all accounts, she's in good shape too.
I love this shot, and I think this is what people don't necessarily realise if they enter a mass participation race. Being an elite entrant is really quite nice. People look after your bags. You get siphoned off into a nice little warm-up area like this where you can complete your warm-up. They are in the shade. I'm sure they'd love to be in the sun, but it's a nice morning, and I do think we mentioned these conditions for our wheelchair athletes who are out here on the start line for a long time as well. It makes such a difference if you're down there not getting any colder. Yeah, you can just enjoy yourself before the race.
A glimpse of Danny Sidbury there on the start line. He's had a great summer. One of the athletes who's been focusing more on the track. As we said, David Weir's been more on the roads these days, but Danny Sidbury has had a really good track season. It'll be interesting to see how he gets on today over the half marathon distance.
2 men and 2 women in this excellent field, starting with an athlete that took silver and bronze at the Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games.
Oh, looks like we could be getting close here for the start of the wheelchair race.
Samantha Kinghorn.
Just go through some of those lead entrants as well. Again, Samantha Kinghorn and Eden Rainbow Cooper leading the way in the women's race. In theory, but you never know. You've got to do these races and see what happens. Those two are very, very closely matched. Just a second separated them at the Great North Run last fall. Let's see if they can have a similar battle here today at the big half.
And finally, the most
Daniel Sidbury and David Weir being introduced to the crowd as well. The wonderful Jeff Whiteman, barely an athletics event that goes on without Jeff Whiteman in the background. And he's just introducing Sidbury and Weir as well.
You know it's a big event when you hear Jeff on the mic, whether it's here in the UK in London or whether it's Budapest where you've just been, Hannah.
Wonderful to see proceedings underway. And Aisha Farah with the flag waving duties.
anticipation, isn't it, for what is about to come. She was
much more a lead once the race is underway. Now we do have 3 out of the 4 defending champions from last year returning to the streets of London. Eden Rainbow Cooper on the women's side equalled the championship record of Manuela Shah with 56.39 last time round. She is down in the field, and David Weir, of course, the winner last time round, and Sir Mo Farah. So it is great to have 3 out of the 4 reigning champions back here to defend their titles. A very early lead for Daniel Sidbury here. And these athletes will settle into their pace. This is not the fastest of half marathon courses for our wheelchair athletes. There are a few twists and turns. They tend to go faster at Great North. That's where a lot of their personal bests are set. But this is still a lovely course for the athletes.
Yeah, Danny Sidbury hitting the front. Obviously that track speed coming out onto the roads, and quite happy to get out there at the front and drag the others with him. A couple of bronzes for Danny at the Worlds this year in Paris. For those of you who are following along with our Paralympic World Champs, a really successful year yet again for Team GB out there in Paris. I was having a look at Danny's Instagram, and as much as you'll see the power and strength in his hands and his arms today, is a dab hand at the piano as well, Hannah. Really nice piece of him on Instagram playing the piano whilst away with the Team GB. But he's it now looks like he's just going to settle in. Is it over to Mr. Weir already?
So the blue t-shirt here with the orange stripes, that is David Weir. He goes to the 4. John Boy Smith, the athlete with the white t-shirt on just to the side of David Weir, was the winner at the Commonwealth Games marathon. That was almost a surprise win for John Boy Smith after David Weir suffered a puncture, but a win nonetheless for John Boy Smith. And he's the first ever Romani Gypsy to qualify for the Paralympic team. He's incredibly proud. Spoke very eloquently about his wheelchair being bought by his church. Heavy funding there to allow him to compete as a wheelchair athlete. So this equipment is expensive and very specialist. So John Boy Smith, very appreciative of the support he gets. We've got Michael McCabe tucked in 3rd place, and Daniel Sidbury there with the red helmet, content to go all the way back to 4th. And so I wonder if maybe you've got to get off that start line, you've got to get yourself separated from trouble. But Daniel Sidbury perhaps was a reluctant leader for the first couple of minutes. David Weir head down, powering at the front. By all accounts, he's preparing for his normal routine during the winter. A lot of the World Marathon majors. We've got Berlin, Chicago, New York coming up. And this is a bit of a sprint. I know to most people watching, a half marathon is not a sprint. But for someone like David Weir, when he can do a lot of marathons across a couple of months, a half marathon is a bit of a training push. And in the fact that you wouldn't need huge recovery time from it.
Yeah, we're just expecting over 40 minutes for the elite men and around 50 minutes or so for our elite women in the wheelchairs. Like you say, it's quite a quick push for them, Hannah. Interestingly, Michael McCabe sat in there, but we can see the elite men and women now lining up, ready for the start of their big half.
First to be introduced is Rose Harvey. She ran 2:27 to be the first Brit home in October's London Marathon. By all accounts, preparing for another autumn marathon, but Rose Harvey, a really strong athlete. Lily Partridge is very close to the qualifying mark for that World Road Running Championships. It's 71:30, but Lily Partridge has been racing a lot over the last couple of months, and that tells me she's in good shape. Cali Thackery is certainly in good shape. She obliterated the 70-minute barrier in Berlin to put herself really up on the all-time lists in Great Britain. She could be a favourite here today.
Sandy Butchart, winner of the Highgate 10K, British champs this year, and 6th at the Olympic Games in 2016. Second to get introduced, Johnny Mellor, Liverpool lad. He's the only man with the qualification time today. If he goes in the top 3, he will be getting selected for that Team GB team. And then a man who needs no introduction, he is Britain's most successful track athlete of all time. He's still the only man to defeat the queue. He has literally done it all, and he is in London for one final time. He is Sir Mo Farah.
Again, Mo Farah's family on flag waving duties. And what a moment for them to have the opportunity to be so heavily involved with his last race on the streets of London. It's lovely to see Sir Mo Farah flanked by athletes that he will have inspired, that he's trained alongside with, as he takes to his final trip around the streets of London. frantic push off the start line. There is the championship start behind the very best club runners in Britain, slot in behind our elites, and let's just hope that the elite females can manage the first half mile or so easily here on the roads. It's very easy to get caught up, and everybody run very, very fast, and they're all flooding across the start line here. Very orderly fashion. So we did mention we've got this championship start. We're then going to have 10 waves, A through K, over the next hour and a half or so, getting their half marathons underway. 16,000 or so athletes will be on the streets of London today across this marathon, half marathon distance, and then also the New Balance big relay. Saw Perry Shake Straighton speak about that. There are teams out there running around about 5 kilometres each to make the whole way to 13.1 miles. And there's also a free big mile that will take place after the race today, designed to help people new to running and families have an opportunity to be involved today. They'll run pretty much the last mile of the course. They'll get involved there.
Yeah, it was good to see Perry, wasn't it, giving her interview at the start. The last time I shared a team with Perry and she was in a relay, she was on the anchor leg, winning the world title for the GB team in Istanbul World Indoors in 2012. But today she is leading that team off with one of her teammates as well. Christine's also on there. Great to see Christina Horrigu and Perry teaming up to raise money for the Lloyd Cowan bursary. And we see the front of the men's race. Phil Sesamon looks like he's taking it out with Mohammed there. I think he said Mohammed and Zachary have both been trained in Ethiopia, Hannah, so they are clearly ready to roll.
Let's get into that World Athletics Road Running Championships team. It's taking place for the very first time in Riga in Latvia in around about a month's time. They're going to have a half marathon, a 5K and a 1 mile. The 5K and the 1 mile team are getting picked as sorted out next week. That's sort of in a pre-programme for the Great North Run that takes place next week. But the half marathon team for that World Athletics Championships is going to get largely picked off this race here. If you finish in the top 3 and you have the qualifying time, 62.5 minutes for the men, 71.5 minutes for the women, that books your ticket to Riga. You're going to get your kit, you're going to get the chance to represent your nation, and that is what's up for grabs here. But what we understand, Sir Mo, he doesn't want to compete past next weekend. If he's in the top 3, he won't count towards the team. But I think there's a lot of other athletes here where that will be a real target. We mentioned in the starting lineup Johnny Mellor there in the white vest and the black shorts, the only athlete who actually has the qualifying time already. So we probably won't expect Johnny Mellor to push the pace. But the rest of these men, if they can get organised together and they can clip along and try and hit that qualifying mark, they're looking for around about 4:45 per mile. That's what they're going to need.
So a quick dash back to the elite wheelchairs, the men, and it is Weir tucked in now behind Sidbury. So the two we expected away. We did pick out Michael McCabe as well, who was 8th in London Marathon this year. We thought Michael might feature, and I think he is still tucked in the chase group, but it is Sidbury now pushing the pace, and it'll be interesting to see what tactics they both deploy today, because Sidbury has been racing on the track, as you mentioned, Hannah. David Weir has been focusing more on the roads, and he will start to go into that autumn marathon scene with a lot of those majors coming up. So it'll be a case of strength versus speed, I believe, as we get into the latter stages. And it looks like they're taking turns a little bit. Maybe there's a bit of an agreement there. They might be going after that course record maybe that Weir set here last year. Maybe they fancy it in this good weather. They have got perfect conditions. There's not much wind on course, as you can see. The sun's out, but it was quite cool as we were walking down in London this morning. The temperatures will rise, but with it being a 8:30 start, hopefully our elite men and women in the wheelchairs, as well as our elite men and women, can take advantage of these fast racing conditions.
It's interesting seeing Weir and Sidbury exchange the lead like this. And they could be clipping along at a decent pace. I mentioned that 4:45 miling the elite men need to hit that qualifying standard for the World Championships. 3:36 miling for the wheelchair athletes. They really zoom along the streets. And I think when you see the tight turns and they have to take, and what that takes away from the momentum, you can see quite how hard work it is. But it's so impressive when they whiz around the streets.
Do you know what I'd love to see, Hannah? I always talk about this, is putting things into perspective, I'd love to see somebody on a bike next to the elite wheelchairs to see how fast that actually is. Because 3:36 miling, you go out on your bike and you try and do that, you know, put your watch on, put it on Strava. I know a lot of you are on Strava these days, whether it's cycling or running, and you have a look at that and you will appreciate how fast that they are pushing in those wheelchairs. As we take a look back at the elite men, Sessamon goes to the front for the first time, Mohammed still at the fore, and Thackery's in there as well, his brother. And Thackery's had a really good year. You know, he was second at those British champs over the 10K at Highgate, silver medal at Eurocross, has brilliant range. I'm really interested to see how the Mohammed brothers get on today. But there's a lot of interest in that group, and it looks like Mo Farah has certainly either tucked back in. I actually can't see Mo at the minute. Yes, he is. He's just tucked at the back of that group there as they go through this long tunnel. And they'll be in this for around about a mile, I believe, just over that. Ellis Cross is set in the middle there. Some of you may recognise Ellis from the streets of London. Pulled that surprise victory off over Mo in the Vitality 10K. And Ellis became what was said to be the most famous club runner of all time when he was labelled a club athlete. I guess we all are club athletes, aren't we, Anna? So you can take some pride in that as well.
Just wonderful to see such a big group as they make their way round the streets of London. And here is our first look at the full course map, 13.1 miles. The athletes have set off from Tower Hamlets, where we've just seen them, and they head out towards Canary Wharf and London's financial district. After 3 miles, they're going to loop back on themselves and head through the historic docking area of Narrow Street. Next is Wapping and the Thames shoreline. Once they pass through that 7-mile marker, it's time for the iconic Tower Bridge and passage to the south side of the River Thames. Mile 9 will see us in Rotherhithe, at which point the athletes will make their way to the rejuvenated Surrey Quays. And then we've got the long stretch of Lower Road. I think this could be really key for our elite athletes in any tactical bids for glory. And the big half will finish, as always, in the shadow of the famous tea-clipper Cutty Sark.
So I believe we're back with the elite women's wheelchairs, and it is Kinghorn and Rainbow Cooper, as we expected, out the front. They had a battle at the Great North last year. Only a second separated the two of them there. Are we going to see a similar race pattern unfold today? Bit of barking orders, speed up, the orders at the front. It shows how fast they're going, where the motorcade is struggling to hold pace. But we do see Rainbow Cooper towards the front. Wears the white with the red, sort of reddy orangey colour helmet. 101 on that helmet, and she is the one pushing the pace at the minute. Again, interesting backgrounds over the summer, Hannah, whether they choose to, you know, go to the track, whether they stick to the roads. Rainbow Cooper 4th and 6th at the World Championships, and raced only this week in Zurich, where I've seen a lot of the wheelchair athletes were complimentary of the Diamond League and putting that race on at the Diamond League, and it was fantastic to see that. And again, it shows that the fastest athletes in the world in those chairs are in that stage, and it's really, really important for them to get on that stage.
Wonderful to see all 4 races underway, but we're going to head back to Casa because he's got someone interesting to interview.
The big half is all about community, diversity, and helping people, encouraging them to get out there and run. And no more groups do that than UFO Athletics, which is predominantly from the East African diaspora. Mohammed Ismail and some members of the club are here with me. Hello to you all. How are you doing? Mohammed, before we go any further, just tell me, what does UFO mean?
Okay, thanks very much for having us this morning. UFO is a Somali word. Very difficult to describe in English, but it means the sweet smelling wing before the rain arrives. So in an urban environment, it's difficult to feel it, but you know, and in that part of the world especially, it means beginning of something good. So it's a metaphor we've borrowed from our language and culture.
Beginning of something good. I love that. That moment before the rain falls. I mean, we're used to that moment here in the UK, clearly, but not today. It is glorious. And tell me a little bit about your group, because you started during the pandemic, didn't you?
Yeah, obviously the idea was with us many years, but it was during COVID that we realized that more people needed to get active to deal with their mental health issues, especially during lockdown. And it was a perfect moment to launch what we thought about many years. So we started with the walking group, actually, with Somali women in South London, and then we developed a running group, and then we obviously got athletics and football activities for kids. So we're developing our programs over the last 3 years. We've got 5 major programs, which includes also traditional board games all around the world. So we do that in schools as well.
Fantastic. Why is it important to have this group for the East African diaspora? Is it one of those where actually maybe some people from that group don't feel welcome or don't feel like it's appropriate for them to be part of another group?
Not necessarily. I think the key thing was really historically these communities have become, are less active compared to that nationwide. So it was more really to get people to become more active. That's the whole idea behind it, to feel healthier and happier and to connect with others. And my background is in running, so it felt natural to start with that. But predominantly we will encourage and develop anything that keeps people active. And obviously this event is ideal. It's local as well. So,
Mohammed, team, thank you so much. Best of luck for the run, and keep doing what you're doing, which is amazing.
Wonderful to hear about the community element here at the Big Half. It's a real focus for London Marathon events. They're very keen to have a mass participation event that reflects the neighbourhoods that it runs through, and they've been working very hard to do that. So back with the elite men, and the lead at the moment for Mohammed, Johnny Mellor slotted in just behind Jack Rowe on his shoulder, Andrew Butchart staying involved as well. Mo Farah, you can see he's just in the sunglasses at the back of the group, very much still involved.
And the elite men wheelchairs, Weir is pushing the pace again. We know that's Danny Sidbury tucked in behind. It felt like they were taking turns, and Weir has a quick glance over his shoulder there just to see where Sidbury is, whether he's trying to make a move here or whether he's just saying, come to the front again, Danny, we are sharing the pace. Whether I are trying to attack that course record. We said earlier, it is fast conditions and there are a few downhill sections, and this certainly does look like a downhill section part of the course. They've been going around about 17 minutes. We've had a quick look at some of those mile splits as well as we see them go through mile 5, and that is one of the quickest parts on the course.
With Lewis, they are way under course record pace. I'd noted down 18:05 they needed through 5 miles, and they're around about 17.5 minutes. So Weir and Sidbury pushing really well here on the streets, and it's all very well being on course record pace, but you want to be the guy that crosses the tape first. They are going to keep racing and keep pushing hard. Sidbury to the 4 now. Maybe it's a mile each, maybe it's something like that, but these two will be ferociously competitive when we head towards that last mile or so. I mentioned Lower Road, that kind of long flat section that we've got towards the end of the course. I think that could really be somewhere that in all the races, in the wheelchair and the able-bodied races, they're just going to get their heads down and try and pull away from their competitors.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it, going backwards along there. They're so used to coming the opposite direction with London Marathon. They go through Cutty Sark at around about 10k and then make their way along that area. But today, they're going to be going backwards towards Cutty Sark. We saw in April it was quite slippy around there in the wet, but today they've got really good conditions, so they won't be affected by that. And it feels like it is going to come down to a sprint. We said before we came on air, Hannah, today, that we thought all the races were going to be hugely competitive. We thought that every single one could come down to a sprint finish. We've got 2 clear here, we've got 2 clear here in the women's wheelchair. We're hearing we've got 2 clear in the women's elite race, and we've got a big bunch of men at the front of the men's field. So we could be right, we could be on for some super fast finishes. And again, Sidbury just looks over his shoulder, Weir comes round, they have a word with each other, and Weir just looks quite happy to chill there. Maybe he's realised it is quick. Is it too quick, or are they happy to crack on at this course record pace and really get after it?
Given the twisty-turny nature of the course through the Isle of Dogs and the Canary Wharf, it's very surprising to see these men get quite so fast through the first 5 miles. And you can see here, I do think Sidbury was going to was trying to ask David Weir to come through and take some of the pace, and Weir's just saying, no, I've done my stint, and he's leaving Sidbury at the front there. Are they having a chat? Are they exchanging a few words? With Sidbury just checking over his shoulder to see where the 6-time Paralympic champion was. And I'm afraid, Sidbury, that David Weir is sat right on your coattails. He's going absolutely nowhere.
It's that experience, isn't it? That racecraft. It's letting the person in front know that you're there, but you're not doing too much to go past. There's a little bit of a wry smile there from Weir, as if to say, yeah, I'm still here. Whether he's got his number or not, we will find out. It was also great to see there where they came back on the mass runners, and the masses get a glimpse of our elite wheelchairs they go through, and they get to appreciate the speed in which they go. And as you say, Hannah, they are clipping along inside course record pace, which was set by Weir here last year. So we'll keep an eye on that. That was around 47.5 minutes last year, and we believe they're at least 30-40 seconds inside of that pace so far, and it doesn't look like they're letting up either. They are a bit of a chess game going on, I suppose, and some of that sometimes comes to the part of the road that they want as well. They've got to navigate those bumps in the road and the drains, and they both want the middle, but it looks like Weir is going to take his turn back at the front as we see a beautiful shot there over the Thames, that nice little sunrise.
And here are the elite men wiggling their way through Canary Wharf. This is such a familiar sight from that London Marathon. We use this section of London so often for races. And Sir Mo Farah has been there racing the marathon a few times. He was actually paced by his friend and his training. Well, they do a lot of training together, him and Andrew Butchart, the athlete, all in black, just off at the back of the group there with the yellow shoes on. It was great to see Butchart pace Sir Mo Farah in April in the London Marathon, but there's no pacemaking duties for anybody in this race. We've mentioned it's a British Championships, we've mentioned it's a trial for the World Athletics Road Running Championships, and Mohammed at the moment very light on racing this year. We mentioned he's been training in Ethiopia with his brother Zachary Mohammed, who's just slotted him alongside some of the other athletes behind there. But Mohammed is so talented, and he's just putting his foot down here. The rest of the field will thoroughly respect Mohammed, and they're not going to be letting him run away if they can do anything about it.
It's that point, isn't it? They've got 3 mile in, they're 5k in the bank. A lot of you at home who are watching will be able to appreciate, you know, your 5k times with Park Run being so popular these days. I wouldn't pay too much attention to those mile splits. I think they're a little bit out. We believe mile 2 marker might be a little bit out. I don't think the elite men would have ran 4:13 and then slowed to 5:21. We can tell by the way they're running that they're quite rhythmic. They're going to be locked in. We feel like the women are operating closer to sort of the 5:20, 5:10 range. And just an update on the ladies, we do have a little bit of a breakaway there. We've got 4 ladies in that lead group. So Lucy Reed, Rose Harvey, Cali Thackery as expected, and Lily Partridge leading the way in the women's race. So that's your first 4. We're hoping to get a camera on those very soon. But this is your elite men. Mohammed does have a little bit of a gap, and I guess the question is, Hannah, how early do you want to go? You know, he's already looking over his shoulder. I always think in a half marathon, don't underestimate, you know, you're 3 miles in, there's still 10 miles to go. It's still a long way, especially when you're coming off the back of a track season and shorter distances.
Mohammed is a phenomenal cross-country runner, as is his brother, who's just behind there alongside Sir Mo Farah. But they started really trying to target the roads last year for me, these two. And I realised eventually we probably do want to move up to marathon. We've got to get competent over the half marathon. And Mohammed is incredibly good already, considering he's only been doing half marathons for around about a year or so. And the group behind, I mentioned it before, they're certainly going to take this move seriously. And it's always funny to see his brother's the one leading the charge. He's saying, well, I know he's in shape. We've been training together. And Zachary Mohammed kind of saying, we need to stay involved. But Johnny Mellor in the white vest there, so experienced over the marathon and the half marathon on the roads. He's the one that bridges the gap first, and Mohammed will look behind and see that everybody's come with him. I don't think he would have thought he could run away from this field in the first 5 kilometres, but he's definitely getting it moving as fast as he can, as fast as he dares.
And maybe he sees that as his best chance, Hannah, you know, going to the front, pushing the pace, making sure it's an honest race. There are a lot of kickers in there, you know, the likes of Phil, who'll be able to kick Phil Sessamon. We saw him outkick Jake Whiteman in a 3K indoors earlier in the year, back in sort of January, February time. Butchart can move at the finish with his track pedigree. Jack Rose got a good finish on him. He's in there as well. Zachary, his brother, you know, He's had a good track season with that 10K at Highgate as well. I can see Andrew Hayes on the back of that group, the Hallamshire Harrier. Andy comes in good form. So maybe Mohammed just thinks, you know what, there's too many track runners in here for my liking. I'm going to make this honest. I'm going to put my foot down, make sure people have to run. And also, some are after the time as well. They've still got that qualification time of 62.30 to get. Johnny Mellor, who's on the shoulder, is the only man with that time. I must say, he does look super comfortable at the minute. We can see Ellis Cross is on the back of that group. I think he's in the Hocker strip. And just a note on that, it is a British Champs, but you don't have to wear your club kit in a British Champs unless it is a team championship. So you can see the athletes are sporting their sponsored kit. We can see the Puma vest, the Nike vests, New Balance, Hocker in there as well, and Adidas, Phil wearing that Adidas kit. So that's why you don't see as many club vests in today's race, but it is a British Championships and it is the British title up for grabs in all our races this morning.
Sir Mo Farah is slotted into the middle of this group. I think he'll be absolutely fine. We've seen him in all sorts of positions in his races throughout his career. I was remembering the track when he'd just chill out at the back and you think, is he having an all right day? And he'd glide through the group seamlessly. And it was interesting to hear Tanya Farah reference that fall in Rio. We all had our hearts in our mouths. He fell in the 10K, the first of his 2 events, when he was trying to repeat his double gold from London, and somehow miraculously he got up and he still won the gold medal. I think that was one of his most impressive performances. Everybody, of course, will remember Super Saturday. It was a wonderful day when he took that 10K title, but to back it up with another double gold in Rio was brilliant.
Okay, Tower Bridge, the iconic Tower Bridge. We're so used to seeing this as the halfway point, there and thereabouts of the London Marathon. Well, they are well over halfway now in your elite men's wheelchair race, and it is Sidbury still pushing at the front with Weir on his shoulder. And you can see the masses on the side of the bridge making their way towards the start. And what a way to start your race when you get the sight of the elite wheelchairs. The elite men's and women's are off as well, and you're walking towards the start. Some 16,000 we expect this morning, Hannah. 20,000 entrants, of which we know not everybody does always fit on race day. There's always a few people who can't make it. It is still Mohammed forcing the pace at the front of the men's race. Just over 20 minutes in, had a quick check at mile 4, and for the men, 4:46 that last split for mile 4. So they are operating at a good pace at the front. 5:17 for the women's.
Look at Sean Frame here, just making his way over Tower Bridge. So they're past halfway, 7 miles just before they got onto Tower Bridge. Sean Frame's a Scottish athlete, races for Red Star, 15th at the recent London Marathon, and he is way ahead of these men on the road. They'll be delighted once they hit 7 miles and halfway. So Mohammed has been reeled in again by this pack of elite men. He's just pushing off the front, whether he's using any downhills, any twists, any turns to his advantage. But he's certainly asking questions of the whole field, and one by one they're having to commit to going with him, and you can see the damage it's doing to the second half of the pack here. We've already lost Ellis Cross off the back. He might come back, but Ellis Cross at the moment struggling at the back of this elite men's field, and it's whittling down to more like 8 athletes rather than the 12 we had through the first few miles.
Yeah, we can see those splits up again. Mile 4, 4:46. We think that's a bit more accurate now. The 4:13, we're not sure that is accurate. We've not had full confirmation of that there. Jack Rowe just takes a smile at some people on the side of the road as he goes through. Obviously, some of his fans there. A couple of Liverpool athletes in there. We can see the Liverpool Harriers vest at the back, the yellow. That is also Johnny's club. And Johnny Mellor is right at the forefront of this league group. And these athletes have made a decision to go with Mohammed. And as you said, Hannah, it is starting to break people up a little bit, and for me it just looks a little bit faster. You can start to see there's a little bit more pressure on the faces. They're not as relaxed as they were, and people like Andrew Hayes dropping off the back of that group when we know Andy's clearly in good nick, and he's just starting to struggle a little bit for the first time, and we're starting to see this men's group starting to break up for the first time.
Lead women Eden Rainbow Cooper and Sammy Kinghorn seem to be sharing a bit of a smile as well. They're side by side, not quite like Sidbury and Weir. Weir tucked in behind. They're going to push up over Tower Bridge. There is a bit of an incline as they come up to the halfway point, and that will hurt at this stage in the race. that Sammy Kinghorn and Eden Rainbow Cooper separated by just a second at the Great North Run. Eden Rainbow Cooper getting the win there, and she's the defending champion, but they've set to have a similar battle. Now, just a quick note to say, we will be catching up with the elite women when we can. We still think it's Cali Thackery, Lily Partridge and Lucy Reed and Rose Harvey are battling away at the front of that group, but we will get to them just when we can. We've got good footage here of the men. These 5 suddenly spread across the road. Mo Farah, that's not a good gap. It's not a race-winning gap. They haven't dropped Sir Mo Farah. That is just a slight gap, and I'm sure Mo is going to work hard to stay on the back of this group of 5.
I think you see Mo do this a lot actually in races. We've seen it at the Great North over the year. I remember when he did it with Bikili as well and famously came at him over that last mile. He tends to hang back a little bit. I don't know whether that's a conscious thing or a subconscious thing even, but he does just tend to find his own rhythm, sit off the back of it, allow 3 or 4 metres. As you say, Hannah, I don't think that's a significant gap. I'm really interested to see how Butchie does today, Andrew Butchart, who's sat in the middle there. We saw him win at Highgate. Well, he won the British title at Highgate there. He went sub-28. He's gearing up for his first marathon this year in New York. So he comes here in the middle of a big marathon block. And we know sometimes when people are strong, it also means that they are fast.
See the mile splits flicking across the bottom. 4:46, 4:37 the split for the last couple of miles. That 5-mile time was round about 23.5 minutes, maybe 23:20, which is under 62-minute pace, so they're very much on target for that qualifying mark for the World Running Championships. And I was looking back at this race, this men's race overall, and it's never been one slower than that qualifying mark, so I really think whoever crosses the line first here will certainly be under that 62.5-minute marker. Whether there's someone that wants to be considered for selection, we're not quite sure. We know Sir Mo Farah is planning to finish his career next week in Newcastle at the Great North Run. Andrew Butchart is targeting the New York Marathon. They might not be able to factor in a trip over to Latvia for a World Championships, but we don't know for sure, but certainly the likes of Johnny Mellor, Mohammed, Jack Rowe, that could very much be a target for them.
Yeah, it's an interesting selection policy, isn't it? And that's the first glimpse of our lead female athlete, and it's good that they have the mass and the championship entry, because Cali Thackery, who's leading the way, has company, which is great to see. But we believe Cali Thackery has opened up a gap, and she leads your women's race here at the Big Half. Now, Cali has come in good form. We know that. She recently had a good 5K, a bit of a return to form, I'd say. She had a little bit of a blip, and I know she's been changing coaches over the last year, but she comes here in good shape, and she is the one who's forcing the pace. So sometimes you see the women out on their own and it's a women's only race, but today they benefit from being in that mass race and the championship start. And it puts into perspective how fast our lead women are when you've got some of the best club athletes in the country struggling to go with the likes of Cali Thackery.
Great to see Cali Thackery moving well on the streets of London. She's been very open on social media, saying it's been a tough summer, sort of mentally and physically, but she has been showing flashes of brilliance over the 5,000 on the roads in the last few weeks. 15:36 to win the podium 5K, and looks like she's pushing well here in this race. We were expecting her to have a battle with Samantha Harrison, but unfortunately Harrison withdrawing with illness in the last day or so, and leaving Cali Thackery here on the streets on her own. And you mentioned Lewis, but to be alongside the championship start is absolutely brilliant. I mean, Cali Thackery, if this was a female-only race, would be running totally on her own, but instead to have someone to work along with is going to really help her time. She already has the qualifying mark required for those World Road Running Championships, but Cali Thackery looking to test herself, I think, today.
Yeah, you can see the big groups behind her. You can see the AFD, Aldershot Fireman District. But as we go back to our elite women's wheelchair race, and nothing has changed at the front. Samantha Kinghorn will be familiar to many of you. Bit of a TV star herself. See her on the likes of Country File. I've seen a great episode with her actually, where she was doing some lambing with her dad on the farm, which is fantastic. And she is still leading the way with Eden Rainbow Cooper as we head back to the men, and they go around these narrow streets and the cobbles, and you get a little bit of the sights around London and its diversity and all these communities that we've been talking about, Hannah, and it's great to see them taking in all the different boroughs in London this morning.
A think we're still on Narrow Street, that district. Apparently Sir Ian McKellen owns a pub down here. He's one of the most famous residents of this region, and he owns a pub called The Grapes. I've been trying to keep an eye out for it. Maybe we've missed it already, as they go through 10 kilometres, 29.25, and that is right on pace for the qualifying mark for the World Championships. We were looking for around about 29.5 minutes, so great running from these men. The championship record, incidentally, Kenenisa Bekele, 60 minutes 20. I'm not sure that's going to get trouble today unless they really get moving in the second half, but that's a great first 10k split.
There's a shot of your women's second place at the moment. That's Lily Partridge, a familiar face. One of our top middle distance runners, became long distance runner, became marathon runner. Lily has done it all over the years. She's been in many a GB team. You can see she's tucked in again behind the men, the Kent AC vest there on your screen, and she'll be using those men around her to her advantage, which I have always personally liked. I think it's great for our women to be mixed in with the men. I don't see why we divide them up anymore. I think it's great that if they do become detached from one another, they have other people around them. Why shouldn't they? We want to see the fastest results that we can, and this gives our ladies the best opportunity. We can also see a group of women tucked in that group behind. There's a big group of men, and in there I can spot 2 or 3. I can see Naomi Mitchell is right on the back of that, and then there's a couple more in there. I think Rose Harvey's also in there, so that's great to see. I also noticed that we do have a few championship entries on there as well, so people to be aware of.
What another great example of why it's good to be along the championship entry. Lily Partridge missed the water bottle, and the guy behind her spotted that, number 176 here. He took a bottle and said, do you want some of this? And the men, they take a lot of pride in escorting these women. They'll be running fantastic times themselves. It will be personal best for them. But the chance to help someone like Lily Partridge push her way into second, that's where she's sitting at the moment in the British Championships, but she has got company behind Rose Harvey tucked in there as well. But Lily does not have the qualifying mark for the Road Running Championship. She's seeking that 71.5 minute clocking. And I think her recent performances and just the amount that Lily Partridge has been racing is giving me a lot of confidence that she could run really well today. She's an athlete that has struggled with injuries over the last couple of years. It's been heartbreaking to see her be sidelined for long periods, but to be racing so much is lovely, and she's going well in the women's.
Yeah, I caught a glimpse of Abby Donnelly on the back of that group as well. I've had a message from Bill Foster this morning, who helped support Abby at Loughborough, and she was one of our championship entries who's up there with the elites. But we're back to Sir Mo Farah, and looks smooth. He's on the back of that group still, and we have seen it broken up at the front, and we're just going to get a glimpse of that gap to see how big that gap is. Mo has sat on the back of that group, and again you can see the kind of the giveaway with the championship entries compared to the elites is the elites have their name on their front, so you'll see their surname on the front of their vest. Unless it's Mo's, it might be Sir Mo on there. But then the championship entries, we see, as we saw there, the Liverpool Harrier, we see their numbers on their vest. I know it is Farah on the front of Sir Mo's bib, but you can see Mo has been detached a little bit. We're hoping to get a gap of that. If we could just speed that camera up a little bit, we'll see what that gap is, but it's significant enough now, Hannah. We thought it was only 3 or 4 metres before, but maybe Mo is starting to feel the pace that Mohammed has put down. So there's Zachary Mohammed, the brother of Mohammed, and there is Jack Rowe forcing the pace. So he knows these streets well. He performed well here last year. It's Rowe from Mella, Mohammed and Butchart hanging on at the back of that group, and they're past mile 7.
2 second places for Jack Rowe at the big half over the last couple of years, looking to convert those silvers into golds in this British Championships and take the maximum prize money as well. £3,000 up for grabs in the win, 2,000 for second, 1.5 for third and 1,000 for fourth. So it's a good payday for these men as well. But there's a lot of honour on the line here for being British champion. And Jack Rowe had a great track season. He's very committed to trying to run fast over 5,000, make those track teams and get his British vest there. But he's very multi-talented. He can flip over here to the roads and perform very well as well. Johnny Mellor, the only athlete with qualifying mark, hasn't had a sniff at the front at all.
And we're back to the lead women. Cali Thackery forcing the pace and looking strong in the middle, sandwiched between the 2 men. Again, taking advantage of the club athletes being on course, which is great to see. And Cali looks like she is moving well. So we did say she brought good form here to the streets of London, and it looks like she is well clear.
The men turn on to Tower Bridge, as Lewis Moses said, running the wrong way across Tower Bridge. This is the opposite to what you do in the London Marathon, but we're here at the big half instead. And they're running this way across Tower Bridge towards the South Bank. A group of 4 just starting to stretch away. Sir Mo Farah in 6th place at the moment. Zachary Mohammed just ahead of him. If Sir Mo can get back on terms with Mohammed, those two could work together, perhaps pull themselves back to this front 4. But they all look very, very smooth. We know Andrew Butchart has been off training in front of Mo with Mo Farah as he prepares for his marathon debut in New York. He's looking fine, slotted in there. Him and Johnny Mellor are just letting Mohammed and Jack Rowe control this race, but I think that's a conscious decision. You see the mile ticker across the bottom. It's 4:43 for the 7th mile. The average time we're looking at for that world qualifying mark of 62.5 minutes is 4:45, so they really are moving in that sort of realm, and you'd expect them to only get faster as they start to get towards the finish.
I always think Johnny Mellor looks good, so I won't say Johnny looks good because I always think he looks pretty good, but a good sign with Johnny is when he does commit and he follows the moves, which is exactly what he's done. He won at Wilmslow half in 62.30 earlier on in the year, and he brings that time here and has that qualifier inside of 62.30, I should say. And because of that, I think Johnny is you know, that conscious effort to make that top 3 today, because if he does, that'll be auto selection. He's one of those athletes, unfortunately, has been on the wrong side of selection in the past, and what I mean by that was Johnny qualified for the Olympic marathon when it was postponed, unfortunately, due to COVID, and then he missed out the following year in 2021 at the trial because he came down with a bad foot injury, a bad case of gout, I believe, or an infection down the foot, and he couldn't then run the trial that year. So Johnny will be out there gunning for selection at this World Half. Remember, we've got the World 5K and the World Mile Championships for the first time when they head to Riga later on in October. And I think, personally, Hannah, I think it's a fantastic addition to the calendar. Road running is booming now, and thankfully, the sport has followed.
It is a wonderful opportunity for our British athletes as well. Another chance to represent your nation in an event that really suits you. And someone like Cali Thackery, the half marathon, it's almost like it's made for her. I think she will have ambitions of moving up to the full marathon distance, but at this age and stage for Cali Thackery, half marathon has been wonderful for her. She's ticking off these miles supremely well. We needed about 5:25, 5:30 miling to hit the qualifying mark of 71:30. Cali Thackery already has that. She's done 69 minutes. She's 12th all time in Britain for that half marathon distance. Achieved that at the Berlin half back in April. And Thackery, flanked by 2 men, looks every bit as comfortable as the athletes that have been doing these sort of distances for years and years. But Thackery, the chance to represent her nation over half marathon is just absolutely perfect, and I do think it's a great addition to the global calendar.
Yeah, she's looking good, and by my reckoning, I'm going to take the average of those last 3 mile splits, because I think mile 2 and 3 are a little bit out, and if we look at that, she's in and around 5:15 minute miling, which is actually around about 69 minutes, Hannah. So super quick at the front. I'm not sure it'll threaten Eilish's course record from last year, but it's well inside that qualification time.
So Sir Mo Farah has caught Zachary Mohammed up. These two, if they can work well, they're passing through 8 miles, still moving at a very respectable pace, these two. Now, if a group of 4 are away down the road, for me, if they keep pushing, they keep working together, it's going to be very tough for Mo Farah and Zach Mohammed to catch them. But I don't think they'll give up just yet, those two.
So it's Tower Bridge for Thackery, who leads the way in the women's race, and it looks to me as if she is catching those club athletes in front. We keep seeing glimpses of her kind of getting onto the back of different club athletes, and it looks like she's moving through. Now, this is a real positive, because that's going to give her some people to aim for, and as those people slow down, inevitably, most people go off too hard in half marathons. It looks like Cali is pacing this pretty well. A quick glimpse of the watch, and there's Rose Harvey. So Rose Harvey, we believe, maybe in second. That's Rose Harvey moving through well, and she is on Tower Bridge as well. So that's Rose Harvey in second place, we believe, in the women's race. We'll get you updated as quickly as we can with the top 3 women, but it is Cali Thackery who leads the way. It's the famous Vest of Highgate, and Rob there at the front leading the way.
Thackery working well here, and I think you're right, Lewis. This group of men, these club athletes, are really going to help Thackery, but they're helping Rose Harvey as well behind. We did see Lily Partridge in second at some point, but I couldn't see her in that gap between Thackery and Rose Harvey, so it could be that Rose Harvey has moved up just a little bit. Those splits very consistent for Thackery. And she's well over halfway into this half marathon now. She comes off Tower Bridge. She's going to take this left-hand turn. That takes her onto Tooley Street. There is a drink station coming up for these athletes. We did see Lily Partridge miss her bottle of water. There's no elite drink stations here at the Big Half. For a half marathon, you don't necessarily need the gels and the specialist drinks that you have. So the likes of Sir Mo Farah and Zachary Mohammed can pick up a bottle of water if they want, and maybe some electrolytes, but that's around about it. These two working very well together in 5th and 6th. We pan out and see the gap to the rest of the group. Are they getting dropped, or are they managing to close the gap on the likes of Johnny Mellor, Andrew Butchard and Mohammed Mohammed?
And that last mile split was 5:18 for Cali Thackery, and that was Rob Wilson from Highgate who she's just tagging onto there. And Rob's a very good club runner himself. He's ran a 68 half marathon and a sub 2:30 marathon as well, so she's in really good company, and hopefully she can use that company to help pull around. Now we can see that is now a significant gap, Hannah. So Zachary Mohammed is obviously tiring, that's why Mo's catching him, but you can see that that's now sort of 100, even maybe further, 100, 150 metres to our 4 men who are away. It's still Mohammed Mohammed forcing the pace. We weren't sure what form Mohammed Mohammed was in. I saw on socials this week that he's just submitted his master's project. He said finally got that one done, so he's obviously been a busy man, and maybe that's why he's not been racing as much. But he clearly has been training. He comes here in fine form because he leads the way with Jack Rowe on his shoulder. Jack won't want to be second again, surely. He's getting too used to being second at the Big Half.
Jack Rowe will not want a 3rd consecutive second, I'm sure. 4:35 for the 8th mile here for this group of 4. Johnny Mellor, for the first time, starting to look like he's in trouble as they move around the south bank of the Thames. But 4:35, it's only 10 seconds faster than the previous mile, but at this stage in a half marathon, 40 minutes of running on the clock, that's going to bite. And Jack Rowe looks up for it. Him and Mohammed Mohammed trading blows here in the front in their matching blue vests. Andrew Butchard's not missed a step. He's very content to slot in behind these two, but that is a bit of a gap opening up to Johnny Mellor.
I think this is clever running from Butchard. He's literally tagged in the whole way. He's took behind the 2 guys there. He tucked in the main group at the start. He hasn't really shown his cards yet. He always looks like he's working hard for me, Butchard. He never looks really comfortable. He has this kind of high, lopey stride, but he is battling to stay with these two. Mohammed Mohammed putting on a bit of a spurt at the front. It looks like they're going uphill a little bit, so it's a bit of an effort there, and it's just whether Butchard's just hanging back on purpose or whether this is a gap. They're through mile 9 in 42:16. They are moving, Hannah. That is serious running. They're going to be close to 61 minutes.
And here we are, we can see the wonderful Cutty Sark and the finish of the men's wheelchair race. It's a sprint for David Weir over Sidbury. David Weir takes yet another win here on the streets of London at the Big Half. That's his 3rd win and his 5th podium finish. And the time on the clock there, I think he would have been round about the same as his championship record. But a good win from David Weir and Danny Sidbury in 2nd.
Yeah, maybe just outside that championship record or course record here, Hannah. 47:19 last year for Dave, and that looked around about 41:30, I think, on the clock. A really good sprint finish, but these boys are moving. It's the 2 Puma athletes, Mohammed Mohammed, Jack Rowe, and Butchard has just started to feel the pace, and interestingly, Johnny Mellor has now dropped off that group, and he sits in 4th place, so it will all come down to who wants to go. Will Butchard want to go if he sits in 3rd? The first 3 will get auto selection if they have the time. Johnny Mellor is the only one with the time currently, but if our clocks are right and the mile splits we're getting are correct, these boys are away and on to get that qualification time. So we're going to see some super fast times. I guess the question with Butchard is, does he want to do that half marathon in Riga in the build-up to New York half? That's a 15k split. Hopefully we can get that to you soon. We've just lost the clock in the bottom corner, but it is Jack Rowe and Mohammed Mohammed who lead the way in the elite men's race.
Well, 9 miles. We're heading through 9 miles in 42 and a quarter or so, which is well under 61.5-minute pace, so they're doing super well. Cali Thackery is sharing a chat here with the Reading AC athlete, perhaps indicating whether she's running at the pace she wants to, whether she wants help. And the fact that she can have a chat when she's operating at sub 70 minutes for a half marathon is really, really impressive from Cali Thackery. Great to see all these club vests, Winchester AC. I used to go and train with them a little bit when I lived in Oxford, and they'll be very pleased to see the black and yellow vest on the TV. Cali Thackery tucked in lovelily behind. Last time we saw Rose Harvey was in second place. Cali Thackery clipping these miles off.
Yep, and there's the Highgate boys in there, doing a great job. And hopefully Cali can just latch onto this group, because that is a good group of men now she's got to work with. And we can see Rose Harvey's also working well in there. We believe Rose Harvey is in second place, and she's just tucked in that group and working through quite nicely.
Rose Harvey, a guest in the Dulwich Club Championships that seem to be taking place around her. 3 vests all from the same club. You do all your training together and you go, let's go to the big smoke, let's run a half marathon, and then just running around together. They could have just stayed at home. But Rose Harvey moving well there, and she is preparing for an autumn marathon, but this half marathon very much a good stepping stone towards that.
One of the athletes I coached there, Ali Kinlock, was not having a good day. Didn't look too comfortable, actually. Not sure if something's gone wrong there. He looked like he was holding his side a little bit, but it shows things can go wrong in a half marathon. He was coming in here a bit of fun, but there's Chris Walker as well going through, another athlete who I support. He's based in Loughborough. He's having a bit of a run out today. He's just back from Budapest, Hannah. He was out there as a spectator and a fan of the sport.
Mohammed and Jack Rose still side by side, and for me the side by side is significant. If you were hanging on, if you were suffering, you'd be tucked in behind, you'd be taking a ride. But these two are just poised. If either of one of them shows any weakness, I think the other might just go. But it's still 46 minutes on the clock. They've got around about 15 minutes to go. And you can see in the background, Andrew Butchart is the athlete in 3rd place, Johnny Mellor the athlete in 4th, and Sir Mo Farah is just coming under the bridge, the flyover that these men have just gone underneath. He is still in the race. We think he's around about 5th or 6th, but Johnny Mellor slowing significantly in 4th place. So Sir Mo Farah and Zachary Mohammed, the brother of Mohammed, could be looking to move through the field. And they've got around about 15 minutes left to make some impact on the rest of the field.
Jack Rowe looks really good here, sat on the shoulder of Mohammed. Cali Thackery also looking really good. She leads the women's race, and we believe she's on for something inside of 70 minutes, which will be super, super quick as we get a glimpse of the lead wheelchair women. It's Sammy Kinghorn coming towards the finish. Is it going to be Rainbow Cooper? Is it going to be Kinghorn? It's going to be Kinghorn on the outside who takes it. Oh, and a little bit of a fall there. But it was Kinghorn, we believe, who took that in around about 52 minutes. We hope she's okay. There's a tension there straight away from her that shows the depths they go through to get to that finish line. Another sprint finish between the two, which we saw at the Great North Run last year. It did repeat itself, but this time it was a different outcome. Kinghorn, we believe, we will get official confirmation of that from Rainbow Cooper.
It's a ferocious finish for the wheelchair athletes. Very, very technical around that wiggly section and Cutty Sark. That's still a few miles away for our elite fields, but there you can see Kinghorn just getting ahead of Eden Rainbow Cooper, and the issues there with the tape, it almost seemed that Rainbow Cooper got on top of the tape and that's what caused it to stop. But it does look like Sammy Kinghorn is okay. Her chair is back upright. Let's hope she's not grazed anything. Luckily our athletes, of course, they do have their helmets on as well, very important at the speed that they're moving at. But wonderful to see a similar result but reverse for those two. What a competition.
Yeah, brilliant sprint to the line. As we said, we thought it'd be close between the men's and the women's wheelchair, which it was. 2 sprint finishes. David Weir coming out on top, as well as Samantha Kinghorn in the women's race. And we're back to Sir Mo Farah. We believe Mo has sat around about 5th place. He is moving through. Johnny Mellor has dropped off the back of that group, and so has Andrew Butchart. It'll be interesting to see if Mo can reel those guys in and get himself into that top 3. We think he's around about 40-50 metres back of Johnny Mellor at the moment, but Mo seems to be moving in the right direction, which is a good sign, and pacing his race pretty well. It'll be the last time we see him on the streets of London, and I hope he enjoys it. I hope he takes it all in. The crowd are out here to see him. They've got the phones out. Everyone's getting a picture if they can. The last time, well, it won't be the last time you see him on the streets of London, I'm sure, because he loves his running, and I'm sure we'll see more at plenty of events, and especially next week at the Great North Run, where if you missed him this week in London, you will see him next week in the northeast of England, around the streets of Newcastle, Gateshead, South Shields, and you'll get a glimpse of Sir Mo Farah's last ever race in the UK.
Having a look back at, I think this is still our championship athletes. The very best club athletes in Britain get the chance to be in the championship start, so that's in front of the masses, and you can pick them out because they've got all those club vests on. They're moving very, very well. Cali Thackery has been out in the front in this women's elite race for so long. We've barely seen her alongside any other women. She's moving fantastically well. We were expecting a close battle between her and Samantha Harrison, but Harrison unfortunately ill, and leaving the way here for Cali Thackery to forge on at the front. It's been a great few years for female half marathon running. Of course, Paula Radcliffe still on top of the all-time lists with her 65.40, but Ailish McColgan running 65 minutes, Sam Harrison running 67 minutes, Jess Warner-Judd running 67 minutes as well in the last few years. And Cali Thackery is down in 12th place in the all-time standings at the moment, with her lifetime best at the moment stands at 69 and 1 second, and she's around about that pace now. It would be absolutely amazing if she could better that time. Berlin and that half marathon is a fantastically fast course. The big half is fast as well, but it's not renowned for being as fast as Berlin. But Cali Thackery is really moving in that sort of region at the moment.
Yeah, and based on those splits, Hannah, if they're correct, and we believe they are, that's going to be inside an average of 5:15 now. You can see that quick split around mile 8 of 5:08. So it's inside of 69-minute pace. It's getting towards 68:30 if those are correct, and we've obviously got to take into consideration the first 4 miles. But Cali Thackery is moving in the right direction, and she has company around her, as we see now. A glimpse of the masses over Tower Bridge, the iconic Tower Bridge. They'll be taking that in. Many of these runners will have ran that in the opposite direction at the halfway point of London Marathon, and well over halfway, in fact, into the last 10 minutes now. It's Jack Rowe and Mohammed, toe for toe, stride for stride.
They are through 11 miles, 51 and a bit. 51.20 would give you 61 minutes. But look at those mile splits. They're quick. 4:34 for the 10th mile. These two are just pushing each other all the way to the end. And this 11-mile point, it's just seeing them come out of the Surrey Quays, and then we head into Lower Road. I mentioned this section. I thought it could be significant. Brilliant conditions this morning. No chance of a big old headwind. But this turn that Zachary Mohammed and Jack Rowe are taking now is pretty much the last turn they're going to take in this half marathon. Now it's just Lower Road, straight. And that, for me, that adds a mental element. You haven't got the distraction of any landmarks coming up for a while. And I think that one of these men is going to try and put the hammer down now, because they've only got 2 miles to go.
It's interesting, isn't it, Hannah, because we look and we think, 2-3 miles to go, it's not too long, but then everybody knows how long apart runners in the UK. They've still got some time on their feet, but they are absolutely motoring, and this looks like a significant move to me. Mohammed has just started to put his foot down, but Jack Rowe responds. They are motoring. We think this could go inside 61 minutes, which would be super quick. I don't think it'll threaten that course record round here. I remember Tomo taking it out that year, and Bakili was hot on his heels, and that led to a super fast time. But Mohammed is really taking this to Jack Rowe. They've both been away training. Mohammed's done a stint up in Ethiopia, I believe. Jack Rowe's been up in Flagstaff. They come here prepared. They've obviously had their eyes on this over the summer. Jack Rowe does bring that track speed, 13:20 over 5k. So Mohammed may start to think, you know what, I need to get my foot down, and I may need to try and lose Jack Rowe, because I know his finishing speed will be there.
We talk about the significance of the first ever World Road Running Championships, and I mentioned it in reference to Cali Thackery, an athlete that seems to be made for half marathons at the moment, the chance to go to a championship over a different distance on the roads. Mohammed, he's been a great competitor for Great Britain over the cross country, picked up a brilliant 12th place at the Eurocross last autumn. But for him to have the chance to gain a GB vest over the half marathon before he goes up to that full-fledged marathon, that's such a motivation for these athletes. marathon. And Mohammed, last time we saw him, he was winning the British Universities Cross-Country Championships and then the Inter-County Cross-Country Championships in the spring. 2 very prestigious races, very hard to win. We know he's phenomenal on the country, but for him to have something, a carrot like this, to be dangled in front of him across a track season where track is not his forte, is just so, it's wonderful for our athletes. And I think it's going to develop them really well as we look to them to move to the marathon.
As you say, Hannah, just that different thing in the calendar, that other option for people who maybe aren't as good at the track or don't fancy that over the summer. And then they've got their eye on something slightly different, whether it's that mile, the 5K, the half marathon. The road does throw up a few surprises. It's not always the best track runners who perform as well on the road as Mohammed has proven here. It's sometimes the cross-country specialists who are just that little bit stronger. They bring that strength background to the roads, and it almost just levels the playing field a little bit and gives other people different opportunities in that calendar, and I for one are all for it. I think it could be a really good spectacle, and it's great to see that the masses on the streets here today, the masses will also get the chance at those the road running championships on the road, because there's also mass races available, so you can go and you can compete on the same stage as the top athletes in the world.
Well, yeah, if they're not too tired after today, maybe they will take a look at flight tickets to Riga and Latvia and see whether they fancy taking part in that mass participation race. Behind the likes, I'm sure, of Cali Thackery. She's got around about 14-15 minutes left here on the streets of London, and she is running herself into an automatic qualifying spot for those road running championships. We have mentioned there's also a mile and a 5K at those championships. Those teams will have their trials on Friday. It's in a pre-programme before the Great North Run. We believe that is going to be on the BBC Sport website, maybe iPlayer, if you want to catch that. And Cali Thackery is an athlete that actually has the qualifying mark for that 5K as well. And I don't think it's necessarily a totally crazy double to consider that you might run a 5K on one day and a half marathon the next day, but likes of Jack Rowe as well. I think if he'd not managed to have a good day here today, he could have turned his focus to that 5K trial on Friday, but it's going very well for Jack Rowe. He's just pushing the pace here a little bit, 56 and a quarter or so through 12 miles. 56 minutes dead would have had them at 61.10, so they're on, I think they're on for under 61 and a half minutes, these two, as they move into the last mile.
Yeah, we're just trying to get a catch of that last miles, but we believe it is around 4:39, so they are moving through and they're still strong, which is great to see. So hopefully they can go inside that qualification mark. Will it be sub 61? We will see. We think it's just outside 61 minutes. Just an update on the elite women's wheelchair and the elite men's wheelchair. We believe John Boy Smith was in 3rd place and Mel Woods was in 3rd place in the women's wheelchair races. So that's an update of your top 3 in the wheelchair races from earlier. We've seen those super sprint finishes across the line, but it is all eyes on the men and the women's elite field now with Jack Rowe and Mohammed. First little significant look at the watch. Is that a bit of a telltale sign, Hannah, or is it just a look to see what pace they're on?
Well, the pace has been ferocious over the last 4 miles. You can see from mile 8 there, well under the 4:45, an average pace needed for that qualification mark. And so we're looking at this now. What have they got? 1,200 left to go, maybe nearing in on a kilometre to go for these athletes. And for the first time, we see Jack Rowe push himself ahead of Mohammed. But for me, Lewis, Jack Rowe, brilliant track season. He's run very, very fast over 5K on that track surface. You'd back him in a sprint finish. Surely you just wait. Surely you let Mohammed play his cards and then you sweep in the last 200 metres. But I'm a lazy sitter and kicker, and Jack Rowe isn't reading the same script as me.
Well, I'm the same as you, Hannah. I'd be sitting, but the only thing that he may have in his mind is if he feels the pace is dipping slightly and he thinks that the qualification may be slipping. That's the only thing I can think of, but I'm with you. I'm all for sitting and kicking. It's I always get a little bit frustrated when I see people make an early move and then they get overtaken just before the line. I think, why didn't you sit? But it might be that Jack Rowe's recognised that they do need to keep forcing this pace to get inside that qualification mark. I mean, we do think they're well inside it. We think they're over a minute inside it, but you can never be too sure, and he might not have that indication. He might just be thinking, I want to run as fast as I possibly can. But yes, we feel like they're well inside at 62.30. We think it's actually closer to 61.30 currently the guys are operating at. But Jack Rowe isn't letting up. he's also maybe thinking, Hannah, I just don't want to be second again.
Jack Rowe sitting on a pair of second places from 2021 and 2022. Could this year, 2023, be the moment that Jack Rowe finally gets on the top step at the podium here at the Big Half? But it's going to be a battle royale through the last 800 metres or so for Mohamed and Jack Rowe. Jack Rowe, oh, I was going to say he had kind of a shoulder's length ahead of Mohamed, and that is just starting to stretch ever so slightly. He might be able to see the mast of Cutty Sark, Jack Rowe, as he looks up there, and perhaps he knows he's going to have the better of Mohamed today, being alongside Mohamed for the last 4 miles. If he can sense a drop in cadence or an increase maybe in his breathing, and Jack Rowe knowing that Mohamed was vulnerable and he's got a chance here to stretch away. He doesn't have to leave it to a sprint finish. Jack Rowe looking strong as we enter the closing stages of the men's elite race.
Here we go, Hannah, that was the move. It was a clever move. It was up the hill, and for anybody who knows athletics and road running and cross-country running, a lot of people will tell you, make your move up the hill and run off the hill. Do the damage up the hill, run off the top of it and come down. There isn't many big hills on this course. It was only a bridge, a slight incline, but Jack Rowe took advantage of that and has opened up the gap, and that is the first significant gap we have seen. You may recognise these streets now. We're heading into Greenwich towards Cutty Sark. This is usually around mile 7 of the London Marathon. That bridge is around mile 7. You usually go the opposite way in the London Marathon. They're coming back towards Cutty Sark, and they are into the final minute or so of the men's Big Half.
Jack Rowe, Aldershot and Farnham District Club, coached by Tim Eglin, looking supreme here on the roads of London. He took a second behind Jake Smith in 2021 and behind Sir Mo Farah in 2022. He set his personal best last year, 62.04, and Jack Rowe could be on for a new personal best. He's left Mohamed behind him. It is going to be a wonderful win here for Jack Rowe. He's going to be the British champion and take automatic selection for the World Athletics Road Running Championships. He's obliterated his personal best, low 61 minutes here for Jack Rowe. Mohamed coming across the line in second. It's going to be a personal best by around about 50 seconds for him as well. That gets him on the plane to Riga, Latvia, and he looks delighted with that. Now, who has held on for third place? We had a tired Andrew Butchart, a tired Johnny Mellor, and Sir Mo Farah was gaining pace. I don't think he'll have done enough to make the podium here, but these two so strong over the last 4 miles. They've stretched away from the rest of the field.
Yeah, well done, lads. I like that. They pushed away, they were confident from the start. It was those two forcing the pace early on, and they committed, and they were rewarded. We can see Chris Jones there. He'll be looking at that the third place, intrigued with that third place, I imagine. It's Andrew Butchart we can see storming through. He's going to be around about 62.5 minutes, so it'll be interesting to see if he does get that qualification mark. We don't know whether Butchie will take it. He is in a marathon prep, but it is going to be a new PB for Andrew Butchart, 62.13, 62.14 on the clock. He'll be pretty happy with that, Hannah, I think. Gives a high five to Jack Rowe. He just said, did you get first, mate? He had that one finger up there, just confirming that. And here he is, Sir Mo Farah, for the last time in London. Bring him home, Han.
What a wonderful fourth place for Sir Mo Farah. What this man has done for British athletics in Britain is phenomenal. And he's going to be just outside 62.5 minutes. What a wonderful day out for Mo Farah. It's going to be sad to know that this is the last time we'll see him on the streets of London. He is going to do one more competition, the Great North Run, next Sunday. The iconic Great North Run. You can catch that on BBC One. That's 10 a.m. on Sunday if you want another look at Mo Farah. But what a man, what an athlete, what a competitor. And that is a very respectable way to finish his London career.
How does the saying go, Hannah? Don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened. He has given us plenty of smiles, plenty of laughs, lots and lots of medals, and a whole heap of memories to take away with us in the athletics world. He did change the game for men's British distance running in this country, from 5k to 10k all the way up to the marathon. And it's great to see the younger athletes now coming through and following in his footsteps, because he has been the inspiration over the last 10-15 years. There's Johnny Mellor in the background, so Johnny must have been fifth. It'll be interesting to see if he gets that spot He has the qualification time and 5th today, so he's shown good form, which is always what the selectors like to see. And there is a 4th discretionary place up for grabs as well, I believe. They can take 4 people out to those World Road Running Championships if they wish to. Cali Thackery leads the way in the women's race.
Thackeray could have around about 5 or 6 minutes left here. She's had the same man for company 178 from Reading AC. If you know Mr. 178, you can tell him he's been all over the telly this morning. He might be aware of the motorbike in front of him. That's not something he'd normally have when he went out to any of his competitions. Cali Thackeray, there you go. I was wondering whether it was a drink station or not, but she was very keen to run through that sprinkler. It has been really clear conditions. If we look down into the background there, they're still keeping an eye out, perhaps for Rose Harvey or Lily Partridge if they're moving well. And Cali Thackeray doesn't look vulnerable to the naked eye. She looks like that cadence is going well. And yes, she took a dip off into a sprinkler then, but I think that was probably, even for me, shows she's even more comfortable. She's got the awareness to say, oh, hang on a minute, there's something going on the other side of the road. That might be nice. And Cali Thackeray has had much of this race her own way.
Yeah, temperatures are due to rise as we go through the morning. That's going to get a little bit tougher for the masses as they start. We know there's 10 waves of the mass start still to come. They'll still be getting underway on their half marathon this morning. The elites are very much underway and have started to finish off their big half. But temperatures getting up towards 25, 26, and we just saw for the first time Cali checked the watch, and it does just look like that pace is slowing a little bit. She needed that sprinkler. The legs just seem to have gone a little bit here, and I don't know if this is just that incline that they're going up, and then that's that change of cadence. We know there's that bridge to come. Once she's over that, she's very much home and dry into that last mile, but it does start to look like Cali is feeling this a little bit. That's 20k down. We've got 1k left of her big half, and she has led pretty much gun to tape.
That will be a very welcome sight, I think, for Cali Thackeray. Perhaps a slight jinx of the commentator then. I said she looked untroubled, and you're right, Lewis. It was a grimace on her face there, and perhaps the knee lift just starting to go for Cali Thackeray. She's taken the opportunity here on the streets of London to test herself. She could have had a calmer race, especially with the good 5Ks she's been doing in the last few weeks. She could have relaxed and sat in with the likes of Rose Harvey and Lily Partridge and then tried to push on. But instead, she is pushing herself all the way, as are our mass participation athletes. They're just making their way through the field here, and you can tell, I mean, they don't look as fresh as Cali looks, and we've just said she's looking the worst she is in the race. A half marathon is a serious business. Sure, it's not the full 26.2, but it's got to be respected because it does take an awful lot of effort and training if you want to enjoy this distance.
Well, the good news is for Cali is she hasn't got long left. A couple of minutes left on the clock. We believe she's inside 70 minutes, and it looks like she's rallied a little bit again. She's got back on the back of the Reading AC athlete, who's had more airtime than us this morning. It's been great to see the club athletes getting plenty of airtime, because it's often that they're down the field and, you know, they're not always on the camera, but look how supportive they are. They're not just out there for themselves. This is the brilliant thing about running. You sometimes go out with your own intentions, your own race plan, and then all of a sudden you find somebody to run with, and then you're not just running for yourself, you're helping one of the top GB women across the line, and he will do everything he can to get Cali over that line. This is the last little testing bridge, and then she's home into Cutty Sark.
So we saw the decisive move from Jack Rowe that gave him the win over Mohammed, and you could see the Reading AC athlete here encouraging Cali Thackeray up the hill. And I think these hills are just tipping her over the edge. We saw one a few moments ago as well. She's fine on the downhill here. I think she's okay on the flat, but those slight inclines are just a little bit too much for Cali Thackeray at the moment. It's killing her pace just a tiny bit, but you put that downhill on the flat, and here she is, bang, right back on the coattails of this man who's looking behind, yelling encouragement. This is fantastic for Cali Thackeray. It's keeping her engaged, keeping her motivated, and I'd love it if we just saw a ferocious sprint finish between these two. Cali Thackeray has got the elite women's race sewn up, but she's not got this head-to-head with the club athlete one yet.
I'm just trying to look behind. I don't think I can see Rose Harvey in the background. We do believe Rose Harvey is in second place. We're keeping our eyes peeled in the distance, but we think it's Cali's race now. She's into that last sort of half a mile or so. She's going to come round that corner into Cutty Sark. She'll see Marks and Spencer's on the corner, and then it's a turn towards the Cutty Sark to finish off her big half.
It's been a brilliant morning for Cali Thackeray of Hallamshire Harriers. She's barely put a foot wrong This woman has been a regular on British teams through the age groups, through the cross-country championships. Went over to the University of New Mexico to study there, spent some time in Australia during COVID. She's back in the UK now, and she is going from strength to strength. She's running herself onto the British team for the very first World Athletics Road Running Championships. The time on the clock has just gone past her personal best by a tiny amount, but what a fantastic clocking from Cali Thackery. She musters a sprint at the last minute, and she's still got time to celebrate. Congratulations, Cali Thackery, our new British champion for the half marathon and our first automatic qualifier on the women's side. And it's taken absolutely everything out of her this morning.
It's hard work. People sitting at home on the sofas on your Sunday morning, you now appreciate how hard that is for Cali and for all the others out there on course. And best of luck to everyone out there on course, especially our masses who are going to now be bringing it home. But we're looking for second and third. Is it Rose Harvey? It is Rose Harvey. We believe she has passed Lily Partridge, and Rose Harvey is on her way to second place in the big half. Is she going to dip inside 70 minutes? It's going to be so close. 69:59, 70. She may get under on the chip time. That is the gun time that's displayed. There's a big high five there, probably for the pace-making crew, I imagine. And we think Rose Harvey may have just dipped inside 70 minutes, which is a fantastic run, Hannah.
That is, and it's Abby Donnelly coming through for third place at the moment. Coach Bill Foster did get in contact and said Donnelly was in fantastic shape, and she's well underneath the qualifying mark for those World Championships. It's 70.5 minutes for Abby Donnelly. Smiles all round, thumbs up from Chris Jones, one of the British Athletics endurance staff. But Abby Donnelly, she was in the championship start, so she would have had some traffic to deal with. And she managed to weave her way all the way up into third place overall. And Abby Donnelly, again, another one of those athletes so accomplished over cross-country. She does do track seasons. She'd love to make a track team for Great Britain, but this, being able to make a half marathon team, is just a wonderful stepping stone for the likes of Abby Donnelly and Cali Thackery. And Rose Harvey was underneath the qualifying mark. She set the personal best by a huge margin. She had a good time at Antrim, but that was disallowed. And here comes Clara Evans. She's going to be our fourth place athlete. And the time for the qualifying time is 71.5. And Clara Evans is going to sneak underneath that, the Welsh woman. And she's fourth place across the line. We've got to wait and see whether the likes of Jessica Warner-Judd or maybe Eilish McColgan want to be considered for that team for Riga, Latvia. But Clara Evans in fourth place. She's done herself a tremendous service there and put herself in contention for that British team.
Well, that has thrown it in the mix, hasn't it? Because we now have 4 girls across the line with that time this morning. 4 of those ladies have got the qualifying time. Samantha Harrison sat at home, Jess Judd sat at home, and also Eilish McColgan is sat at home. So another selector's nightmare, which the selectors sometimes must hate their job and sometimes must love it. It's a good dilemma to have. Big well done to Abby Donnelly, love for alumni, as Hannah mentioned, well supported by Bill Foster. I would like to have seen her on that elite start list, I'm going to be honest. I know she doesn't have a half marathon time, so that's why she wasn't on the elite start list. But with Abby's pedigree over 10k and cross country and all that she's done, I think we did know that she was going to be up towards the forefront of that race, the Lincoln and Wellington athlete. So a big well done to Abby, securing third place this morning. That's a fantastic effort.
Lovely competitive races in all 4 of our elite races. Sprint finishes between Danny Sidbury and David Weir, the win going to Weir, and then again between Sammy Kinghorn and Eden Rainbow Cooper. And Lily Partridge has finished. She was in second place for much of the race. Lily Partridge really committing, I think, to trying to make that World Championship team. And you can see the clock now still only on 73 minutes, and Lily Partridge will have run a very respectable time, but unfortunately just female athletes flooding past her in the last 5 miles or so, pushing her down the overall standings in that elite race.
Yeah, she committed to that early pace, didn't she? And maybe paid the price a little bit, and that's sometimes what it comes down to, pacing strategy. And our masses will be sticking to their own pacing strategy. It's always hard to judge, particularly when you're in big crowds and the watch goes crazy as well. You don't often get those accurate mile splits, and they will have those mile splits. Some will have them written on the hand. Some will have little tags that they peel off as they go, trying to stick to their own personal strategy. Everyone will have their story. whether it's a charity story this morning, where they're running for one of the great causes out there on course today, of which there are many. And another good job that London Marathon do of bringing all those charities together in one place for people to raise not just money but awareness for so many different charities, causes, community groups. And this is about community, isn't it, Hannah? One big community. We run as one, and everybody is running as one this morning.
Well, cast our eye over the results for those elite races. Here are the top 3 for the elite men and women wheelchairs. Weir, Sidbury, John Boy Smith on the men's side, Kinghorn, Rainbow Cooper and Woods on the women's. Elite women's race, we've just seen Cali Thackery cross the line, a fantastic 69-minute clocking. Rose Harvey not too far behind, and Abby Donnelly with an inspired 3rd place. Close on the men's side as well. Jack Rowe just getting the better of Mohammed. Andrew Butchart with a good 3rd. Sir Mo Farah finishing his career in London with a 4th place at the big half, and Johnny Mellor coming home in 5th.
You can see all the runners just finishing behind me. It's not just about the elites today. Of course, the big half has such a huge reach into the London community, including the women's running group Azra, who promote running and well-being for the Muslim community, but also this year had the opportunity to design the finishers medal and T-shirt.
The colours! It's so beautiful.
And it's long sleeve!
Yeah!
I don't actually think it was a hard process. It was actually quite it was a really creative process. We just collaborated our ideas and stuff, and in the end, seeing the actual medal is incredible.
The medal is so beautiful to look at, but it has so much meaning to it as well. And I think what was fun as a designer was being able to incorporate different messaging that's quite ambiguous in its visual element, but there's a lot of meaning that everyone can resonate to. And just how sleek it looks so professional.
We essentially did a big brainstorm on Zoom, and we had a Miro board, and it was just such a beautiful process. It was quite intense, but beautiful at the same time. And we all just knew that this is something our community is going to be so proud of, and especially this year being the first year that they have long sleeve T-shirts. For us, we were really proud of that. We really wanted to ensure that if we as After Club are creating these medals and T-shirts, it should be representative of the community as well.
When I first heard that Mo Farah is going to have a medal around his neck that I've drawn and helped to design with my friends is incredible. It's something on my bucket list that I didn't know needed to be on my bucket list, but now I get to put a big tick by that.
Knowing that Mo Farah is also going to be wearing the medal and T-shirt that we've all designed, it's something that I'm just going to go home and tell my mum about so she can be extra proud of me.
A big reason to why I started After was because I wanted to find a sisterhood. And I think especially as a Black Muslim woman, it's important to find safe spaces to be yourself. And honestly, I'm so grateful for the sisters I've made and the sisters that constantly come through After Club as well. And seeing them grow has been so beautiful.
I don't know, our religion encourages us to socialise, to go out and just have fun and do your bit for the community. So me just running alongside someone, maybe they needed me to be there that day just like I needed them.
So my journey to getting to Astra, I got a semester abroad scholarship, and I was in China, and opposite my dorm was a track, and I would see at 11 o'clock there'd be no one on the track, so I'd be like, oh, perfect, don't have to humiliate myself, I can go and run at night. And I got really into running at night, and then I knew when I get back there was no way it was safe enough for me to continue that hobby and that passion. And then I found out about Astra, and I was like, oh my God, this is brilliant. There's a track of women that run at night and it's safe. I'm seeing things.
Astra is the most fun run club in London, I have to say that. There's different levels that we connect to each other on. So there's obviously the physical level because we're all running together, the social level because we all have so many things that we have in common, and because our group is so diverse, and also that spiritual element. So people are, on different parts of their faith journey, and it's really nice to speak to sisters for support and advice, because I will say I've had, you know, a bit of a rocky road with my own faith journey, and so knowing that there's support from sisters around me that have been through similar things has been integral to my running journey, but also like just me, my personal growth in life.
I'm so excited to run with them, and then I'm so excited to get something that we created together. And then actually have that represent Astra that we created together, and it continues being able to run this relay with them and then get this medal and this shirt that we designed together. It's just such a pivotal moment for us.
Sarah, Aisha, you're here. You've made it to the start. That's the main thing this morning. And for you, it's probably a really proud moment for you and your team.
Most definitely. We've worked so hard. We've made the medals and the T-shirts this year. We have so many of our runners taking part. Honestly, I'm so proud and so excited to celebrate with everyone at the finish line.
And then to be able to bring this group of women together, how important was it for you from a community perspective, but also from a well-being and understanding what it means for everybody?
So essentially, Astra Club is a run club and community space centering us in sports, oneness and sisterhood. So for us, it's really important that we centre sisterhood in everything that we do. So for us, we really wanted to celebrate this community today. So yeah, it's really important for us.
And Fatima, for you, you're here. It's your third time doing this race. How have you trained for this? Are you ready? You feeling good?
Yeah, I'm feeling pumped. I'm ready, and even more ready because all of our community are going to be out there running with us. There's about 30 of us, and also seeing everyone else in the running community as well is like one of my favourite races in the year.
And one of the moments I'm sure for you, Fatima, that's going to be really, really a proud moment is when you see those T-shirts and medals on people, knowing that you were a big part of that design.
No, definitely. Like, I just need to shout out the team. Like, we worked really hard. We did so many iterations, and like, that's something we created as a community, and we're going to remember it for life. And also, we've got the long sleeves, which is so iconic, so different, so new. So, yeah, I'm just proud of us.
And can I just say, clearly today, you're chief cheerleader as well.
Yeah, I am. Not running, but yeah, no, cheer team.
Well, I wish you the best of luck today. Amazing job, well done, and I'll see you at the finish line.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Charlotte Hill from the Felix Project. What a beautiful day to go for a run.
It's absolutely glorious, London at its best.
And you look like you're all set. You're a runner, aren't you?
I'm not really much of a runner. I basically don the Felix Project green to support the charity, and I run every now and again, but I'm definitely not, a professional.
And how important is it to have this sort of run here, just to sort of get so many people out and about and active?
It's really important to bring communities together all the time, but particularly getting people running, getting people active, but really importantly, raising money from amazing organisations like the Felix Project.
Tell us a little bit about the Felix Project then.
So we rescue surplus food and distribute it to over 1,000 charities all across London. 30 million meals were delivered to communities struggling last year, and people are really desperate at the moment with the cost of living crisis. This glorious capital city, in every community, there are people who are struggling to put food on the table. So the 50 plus runners who are out there today for us, it's so important to be raising money so we can feed more Londoners.
And you're going to be leading them as well, all those 50 runners. You're doing it in a relay, though, so, I think that's a little bit of a cop-out. Next year, you're going to have to do the whole thing, I reckon.
Do you know what? I always feel really guilty. I am doing it as part of a relay with 3 amazing colleagues. Lots of people are doing the whole thing, but I think any way people can support, whether they're doing a relay, doing the whole thing, just get running, get yourself out, get raising that money.
How are you feeling about the run, then? Are you going to be doing a personal best, or just trying to get through and soaking it all up?
Always aim for a personal best. Always aim for a personal best.
Charlotte, thank you so much and best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Just wonderful to hear from the Astra Group as well and the work that they've put in for Muslim women and their running community, and that special message that they've got their long sleeve T-shirts and they've designed those medals, and to hear from the Felix Project. It's running means a lot to those of us that have done it our whole life, and we've done it since we were children, and I love hearing stories like that where it's resonated with other communities where you wouldn't normally expect to find running in their community and in their environment, and they've just really embraced the big half, and it's been a two-way collaboration between London Marathon events and these local communities to make this mass participation race as diverse as possible.
It's brilliant, Hannah. It's what I love about our sport. It brings so many people together, different cultures, different backgrounds, from all around the world, usually the London Marathon, but today the focus is very much on the London community, the London boroughs and everyone around the UK. And what a fantastic job and a fantastic sight on the streets of London this morning. Caught a glimpse of one of the London clubs, East London Runners. I think it was Scott I saw, but you can also see the charity vests out there. And those t-shirt designs, brilliant. You might not be too glad of the long sleeve today, but you certainly will be in the winter in the UK. So what a great idea to have a long sleeve instead of a short sleeve.
Absolutely wonderful. And there are our two new British champions, British half marathon champions. Jack Rowe took the win on the men's side and Cali Thackery on the women's. They have also secured automatic selection to the World Athletics Road Running Championships. We just had a wonderful World Championships in Budapest in track and field and London Marathon events. They cited the diversity you have on the track. We have a huge diversity on the track. It's a wonderful sport for its global nature and its accessibility. And that was something that London Marathon events wanted to pull into the mass participation environment. They didn't necessarily feel that the mass participation environment is as inclusive and as diverse. And they've worked, as we've seen, incredibly hard with local groups. And one of my favourite things they did, which is a significant decision to make, discounted entries for local communities. It was down to £10 if you live in one of the boroughs that this race goes through. And that's really putting your money where your mouth is.
It is indeed. I caught a glimpse of the Track Mafia vest. Charlie Dark has done a fantastic job with Track Mafia. Again, one of the brilliant running crews here in London. We have running crews now, running groups. We have virtual running clubs. We have your standard running clubs that obviously still exist here in the UK as well. And as you say, Hannah, it's just a really good way of bringing all these communities together. And running is that inclusive sport that anyone can do. If you're sat at home thinking, could this be you? It absolutely could be. You will see lots of inspiration on the roads of London this morning. We were all runners at one point. Your journey could start, so why not look at getting entered into London Marathon ballot maybe? Will you pull that golden ticket that everybody's looking for? Or look at the big half for next year and take some inspiration for those you see on your screens in front of you.
Additionally, if you don't fancy something quite so far, you could have a look at the Vitality London 10,000. That takes place on the 24th of September. We're nearing up on that. And the Westminster Mile as well, if you fancy getting your running racing career back on track with something a little bit shorter. But you should take absolute inspiration from the 15 to 16,000 mass participation athletes we've got treading the streets. These athletes here in your picture just going over Tower Bridge. They're past the halfway point. They will be relieved. And I'm sure they've got lots of friends and family doing their trips around on the underground, trying to get to as many points as possible. It's been a great morning so far. These athletes are still going to be out there for a tiny bit longer.
From the London Marathon Foundation and also Gary Stannard from the Rio Ferdinand Foundation as well. What a brilliant atmosphere and so positive, Catherine.
It's amazing. It's my favourite event in our event portfolio. It's so good to see so many people of all shapes, sizes, backgrounds taking part.
And I just do need to ask you, because a lot of people have been getting a little bit confused. It used to be the London Marathon Charitable Trust. It's now the London Marathon Foundation. Why the name change?
So we rebranded this year as the London Marathon Foundation. We are the parent charity of London Marathon events. We've been donating and awarding funds to London boroughs and across the country for over 40 years. All the surplus from London Marathon events like the Big Half, we then donate back into communities in which we put on events, inspiring activity, which is our shared mission at the London Marathon Group.
And clearly you've been helping a lot of people across boroughs in London. Tell me about one in particular. Maybe they're standing behind you.
Well, I'm really excited to be here with Gary from the Rio Ferdinand Foundation. We've actually funded about £70 million across the 4 boroughs that the Big Half runs through. So that's Greenwich, Lewisham, Southwark, Tower Hamlets. And through our Active Spaces Fund, we've just given our first grant to the Rio Ferdinand Foundation. Really delighted to be supporting them in their work in South Lewisham, inspiring activity, working with young people, getting people active. So,
yeah, Gary, tell us a little bit about the work that you and the foundation are doing in South Lewisham.
So the Rio Ferdinand Foundation was established about 12 years ago.
we work across London and Manchester and in Northern Ireland, and our work is very much around supporting young people to get involved in positive activities, to build their confidence, their resilience, and to give them skills that will help them achieve their potential in the future. Sport is a key part of that. It's a great way of bringing people together. It's a great way of building teamwork, networks, but also it's a great way of actually getting people to build their confidence and have an opportunity to grow in themselves. So that's the work that we do, and with this grant from the London Marathon Foundation, we're going to be doing a lot in Lewisham in particular to give young people an opportunity to take part in free sports activities, but to also get some real coaching and development to help build their own personal skills, giving them an opportunity to progress in their lives.
And when you have so many brilliant athletes here, we saw Sir Mo Farah as well finishing fourth. When you have people like that here inspiring the next generation, what does it mean for those people in Lewisham?
I think it's twofold really. An event like this is a great example of bringing people together through sport, because you've got so many different people getting involved here and doing something for their community. So this kind of event is inspiring anyway, because it shows what people and communities can do when they come together. But obviously if you have those big star names, I mean Rio, Mo Farah, you get them involved, it actually gives people a sort of sense that people care and people that have achieved are setting a standard that other people can work towards.
Brilliant. Gary, Catherine, thank you so much.
Thank you.
At the finishing line with Hannah McHale, who is the Big Half event lead. Hannah, what an event. You must be so happy. More than 15,000 people have been predicted to take part today. We've had beautiful blue skies, lots of people turning out to support. What's it been like for you?
I am so proud and so happy to see what's happening today. As you say, yeah, an amazing 15,000 hoping to cross that start line today, and to have an incredible run under glorious skies with the crowds cheering and finishing here under this amazing gantry. Yeah, we couldn't have asked for more. We've seen an incredible elite field, and just hoping that every single one of these runners has an incredible race day today to remember.
A lot of focus has been on the elite runners, on also Sir Mo Farah, his last race in London, but the Big Half is more than that. It's about bringing communities together, encouraging people to be more active, particularly from communities that are perhaps underrepresented when it comes to sport. Why is that such a vital focus for you?
We Run as One is the campaign for the Big Half, and the reason for that is representation matters. We have gone really, really big on the community elements, working with the community run crews, run clubs, faith groups, people from all four of the boroughs, to make sure that people can see themselves represented in the running community. As I'm sure you're aware, running is a hugely popular sport, but it's dominated by the middle classes, the white runners, and we're trying to expand that out so that everybody can see themselves represented and feel like this is a sport for them, to feel like they can turn up here and feel like it belongs to them and they can be part of it.
And across running groups all around London, are you noticing that change? Are you noticing more people that perhaps wouldn't put on a pair of trainers and go out running before are now actually thinking this is something I want to do?
Absolutely. We've been inundated, I'm pleased to say, by the crews that want to get involved. We've got Outrunners, Run Higher Collective, hundreds of community groups and crews that have asked to be involved today. As you know, we've got Astra Run Club, who have designed the absolutely knockout medals and tees for both events today, the relay and the half. And it's all about inclusion. That's a Muslim women's run club representing their community and feeling like they're truly part of today. So we are making the change, yes.
Anna, thank you so much for your time.
No worries, thank you.
I think it's going to be a very well-deserved party this evening for Hannah McHale and the Big Half event organisation team. They've done an absolutely fantastic job. The clock behind Hannah McHale there just clicking over the 90-minute mark, so some really fast times being secured by the athletes behind. Here's another look back at the masses in this group here, just past halfway.
Ah, look at that. The family's out in force. Started the day with the Farah family kicking off the Big Half. and the families are now lining the street to support whoever they have out on course, whether it's family, friends, whether it's just London coming out to support everybody. Hopefully they got the glimpse of Sir Mo Farah on his last journey around the streets of London, and now they can support our masses. We see little Rodney there on the side. Oh, isn't he cute?
Well, myself, Hannah England and Lewis Moses were always big fans of the London Marathon. They put a lot of money into athletics in Britain, and they do it from every level, right down from grassroots. They've got stuff like the Daily School Mile, into the mini marathon. That's a wonderful event for some of our youngsters. I'm fairly sure Mo Farah won that as a kid. But they invest heavily in athletes that are trying to push through into the British team, aspects like that as well. And it's wonderful to learn more about their community involvement in an event like this in the Big Half. We see the elite side of it and we're so tuned into that, but to get this community side as well is really lovely.
So just a quick look before we recap on today's events. Our masses who will continue to flood across the line over the next hour and a half or so, take advantage of the road closures around London.
So our elite wheelchair field were the first athletes to take to the streets of London this morning around about 8:30, so hopefully they're off, they've had a snack. They're starting to recover. It's ferocious racing at the front of the men's and the women's races. Early push from Danny Sidbury to try and stretch out the men's field. He very quickly whittled it down to 4, and those 4 became 2. Danny Sidbury and the Paralympic superstar David Weir. David Weir content just to sit in behind Danny Sidbury for much of this race. These two were locked in a battle through many of the middle miles here in this race, as were Eden Rainbow Cooper and Sammy Kinghorn. They shared a bit of a smile, a bit of a laugh as they pushed their way up over Tower Bridge and past halfway. By the time we got to Cutty Sark, it was a ferocious sprint between David Weir and Danny Sidbury. The win going to David Weir. That is his 5th podium finish and 3rd win here at the Big Half. Sidbury settling for 2nd. It was a closer sprint finish between Eden Rainbow Cooper and Sammy Kinghorn, reversing their order from the Great North Run last year, pushing each other all the way to the line. Sammy Kinghorn taking the win, Rainbow Cooper 2nd, and Mel Woods in 3rd. Here are David Weir and Sammy Kinghorn collecting their first place placards, so they will be the British Half Marathon Championship champions.
Congratulations to both of you, Sammy, Dave. Sammy, I'm going to start with you. And that finish, first of all, how are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. I had a problem, to start with, my camelback fell on the ground. It was dragging along the ground, and I was a bit like, oh no, trying to pull that up and through. And then I looked up and it was the finish line, and I was like, oh, I need to sprint. So I just kind of took off and sprinted, and then yeah, kind of got clotheslined by the finish line and flipped out my chair, which was fun. But I feel like the adrenaline's keeping the pain away just now, so I'm feeling okay.
What a battle with Eden as well. To be able to do that with her, you must relish those kind of competitive, domestic kind of moments.
Yeah, and I always get quite nervous. Obviously, she's training for the marathons, so I know that she's got quite a bit more endurance than me. But I actually felt really good out there. I feel like, my speed felt pretty good. I didn't feel overly tired at any point, so I was quite happy with how my race went.
Big half winner, congratulations. Another big half winner, David. Fantastic stuff. Your 3rd time winning this. Now you know how to do it. But what we saw today was a really competitive, close race.
Yeah, it's going to be close with Danny. Danny's, improving on the track and getting really quick. We was playing cat and mouse for a good few miles, though. No one wanted to take the lead, and but I knew it was going to be tough in the last sprint because he's a sprinter really on the track. But yeah, I've been happy with my performance today.
Brilliant stuff, and of course, as a Londoner, you know what it's like being out here on these streets. And for you, we're going to call you Evergreen because you just keep on going. You're amazing. You're doing a brilliant job. And what is that motivation now for you?
Yeah, the motivation's still there. I really love training at the moment. I've spent 2 weeks in Switzerland training with Marcel, and it's just lit a spark again. And I'm just enjoying life and training and turning up for these races. And it's a big year next year. It'll probably be my last Paralympics in my mind. So I'm only going to do the marathon. And yeah, so I've got to train hard and perform well.
And with that in mind for both of you, of course, with Paris coming up, this is a really good stepping stone to let you know what kind of pace and fitness that you've got, and how much do you use this for your preparation?
Yeah, I like doing quite a bit of miles and things, and doing the miles into the winter and doing the races makes it so much easier. So just doing a few races, going into a heavy winter block makes the training a little bit easier, definitely.
Brilliant stuff. Well, we look forward to seeing both of you, first of all, in Paris, but well done and congratulations today.
Thank you.
So a quick look back at how our women's race unfolded earlier today. It was a beautiful morning on the streets of London, and Cali Thackery was our early race leader. Cali came in great shape and she pushed the pace early on. She broke up that group, which included the likes of Rose Harvey and Lily Partridge. Lily Partridge did go off a little bit faster and hung on, we believe, for 4th place for Lily. But it's Cali Thackery at the front who led out the entire women's race from gun to tape and was rewarded with a super fast time of 69 minutes. She got a glimpse of the masses on the other side of the road and the masses supporting her on her journey around, and she benefited as well from club athletes along the way as she began to reel in the club athletes one after one after one. Plenty of support along the route for Cali, who started to motor. We thought it was going to be super quick at one point. The pace just faded off a little bit towards the end, but at this stage in the race, Cali was the one pushing it and opened up that gap, which grew bigger and bigger and bigger. She was rewarded, and hopefully she will take her spot on that team for the World Road Running Championships, which take place on October the 1st this year. She's transitioned from the track nicely onto the roads, and that puts her in good stead for a big winter, where we know Cali is a bit of a master of all terrain. We see her on the cross, we see her on the road, and we see her on the track, and she put that into practice on the streets of London today. You see the clock was 69:13 as she broke the tape. She left absolutely everything out there. She took herself over to the side. She needed a minute or two to recover from the effort she put in. The legs were just starting to buckle a little bit, but she was the women's winner of the big half, and hopefully she will be one of our representatives at the World Road Running Championships in October.
It was a dominant win for Cali Thackery. It was a big old group in the men's race, especially through this stage, through Canary Wharf. A huge group of 12 or 15 or so men survived the first 3 miles, and they were whittled down slowly but surely through the race. Much of the front running done by Mohammed, just in the lead at the moment. And of course, it was wonderful, just fantastic to see Sir Mo Farah on the roads of London for one final time. He stuck it out here with this competitive domestic field. What an opportunity for these men to get to run alongside him one more time. Many of them will be very familiar with Mo, and many of them would have been youngsters if we look all the way back to 2012 and that double gold he took there. These athletes alongside of him would have been inspired watching his exploits, and to run with him would have been a privilege. And the streets, quite rightly, lined, everybody wanting a shot of our 4-time Olympic champion as he made his final trip through the capital, in a city where he's fell in love with running, learned how to run, forged his career, and then took those 2 iconic gold medals. It couldn't be more fitting to have Sir Mo Farah here today. He will do his very last competitive race next Sunday, the Great North Run up in Newcastle. If you want to tune in for that, that will be on BBC One at 10 AM on Sunday. But as the race moved through to 7 or 8 miles, the likes of Mohammed and this man Jack Rowe just piled the pressure on the rest of the field, and one by one they began to crack and they began to slip away, and it turned into a 2-person race. Mohammed and Jack Rowe toe for toe through miles 8, 9, 10, 11. They were very swift down in the low 4:30s. Mo Farah stuck to his task tremendously well. He worked with Zach Mohammed, the younger brother of Mohammed, just in the background here. Mo Farah built his momentum. He did pick off a few other athletes, but Jack Rowe unleashed a ferocious last kilometre on Mohammed. He took the win in a brilliant new personal best and automatic selection for the World Athletics Road Running Championships. Mohammed rewarded with around about a 50-second personal best, and he did so much of pushing the pace, so much of the work in the early stage. He will be on the plane to Riga, Latvia as well. Andrew Butchart was a good third place, and Sir Mo Farah had time to wave and say thank you to the crowd here. It was his family that started the race, and Sir Mo Farah that finished his campaign here in London. What a wonderful decade of athletics he's had, all the way from those gold medals in 2012 here to a 4th place at the big half. And, appreciation from his competitors as well. But it was Jack Rowe that was the British champion and the winner here today.
And Mo, congratulations, you both finished, but Jack, it was you who crossed the line first in a personal best as well. What a course to run on, but also what a time to run.
Yeah, like super happy. Been out training hard in Font Romeu with Mo and his team and some guys that I go out with, and yeah, it was nice to come back and deliver. Feel smooth out there and just enjoy running on the roads in London.
Yeah, this is the thing about the roads in London, it's a great course to come and run, and how much does it help with your prep for what's coming up this winter?
Huge, you know, I raced the big half for the first time 3 years ago. Had no idea about the half at all, legs fell apart with 2 miles to go, and I feel each year you learn a little bit more. You know when you can push, when you need to hold back, and yeah, it will set me up quite nicely moving to the longer distances in the future.
Absolutely. You speak about experience. There's a man next to you with plenty of experience. A 4th place finish today, Mo, and your last race in London, it must have felt like something to be on these streets knowing that actually it's probably the last time for you.
Yeah, honestly, it's quite emotional today because I haven't been feeling well this week. Got a bit of cold. And I called Spencer up and I was like, I don't know if I could do the race. And then I was thinking about all the people come out here and I'm not going to get another chance. So I came out today, gave it best. But, you know, you can't take anything away from Jack here. He's been working hard for the last 3 years and he deserved that win. And it's just nice to see youngsters who are coming along, who grab that chance and can believe in themselves. And honestly, without the crowd today.
For you to be out here with the crowd, knowing that they've come here for you to support what's been an illustrious running career, how emotional does that make you?
No, it's very emotional, but as I said, like, you know, when you achieve everything, it must come to an end at some point. I'm getting on a bit, and I'm kind of just looking forward to, you know, obviously take a break and hopefully still be involved in the sports. But again, just enjoy myself time with my family. But honestly, without the crowd and the support I've had the years, it wouldn't be the same.
Yeah, and amazing that you're, of course, doing stuff with Jack. You're out there training together. Jack, I bet you expect to see him out there at that training camp still.
Definitely, definitely. He loves Font Romeu. It's great having him out here. The knowledge, expertise that he passes on and shares with everyone is huge, you know? So we appreciate it.
Brilliant stuff from both of you today. Congratulations, Jack and Mo. Your last time on London streets, it's been a pleasure.
Bye-bye, London. Love you, London. Ah!
Thanks, guys. Yeah. Okay, so it's just
I love being at the finishing line because you get a mixture of emotion. Everybody who crosses is brilliant. They've done something that is fantastic. But some people perhaps aren't too happy with their time, and other people think they could do a little bit faster. Press, I saw you pass the finishing line. You were fantastic. Yeah, the first thing you did was wince. Why is that?
wanted a time a bit quicker, but the last 5K was rough. So yeah, that's
what are the conditions like out there?
It was warm. Felt like a lot of up and downs as well, like a lot of hills, sort of small hills. But yeah, tough run.
You should be proud of yourself though, man, for finishing, for doing this, for getting out there, for being active.
Yeah, I'm content.
That's a proper runner there, content. How long have you been running for?
I've been running sort of properly about a year and a half, but I've been active most of my life, so.
What got you into running?
I trained for a fitness competition called High Rocks, so I need to do a lot of running for that, so that's what got into it.
Yeah, I mean, this event is all about different communities, getting people out there who might not possibly want to run before. From your own experience over the last year and a half, what would you say to anyone who might be watching thinking, oh, I might fancy that, but, you know, I don't know how to start?
Take it easy, take it slow, and don't put pressure on yourself. I used to hate running because I put pressure on myself and I tried to go fast, and when you slow it down, you get better, so yeah.
And you enjoy it?
I enjoy it more.
Brass, thank you so much. Go get some water. Cheers.
Wonderful to see yet more mass participation finishers there and those journeys. It's an emotional one. I hope Harley is going well and that they get to see that sign and hear the cheers. What a fantastic couple of hours we've had here in London. Lewis, Moses, what has been your highlight from those elite races?
Ooh, good question, Hannah. Good question. And the easy answer would be seeing more on the streets for the last time. But I'm going to pick a kind of an unusual one. Seeing Cali Thackery at the front of the women's race alongside club athletes and showing the mix there and showing how club athletes and the community come together to help one another. And I think that for me is one of the standout things, where the elites line the streets with the likes of the community groups that we've seen on your screens. And a big shout out, actually, I think it was Richard Price from Reading, who, a bit of a backstory here, if I'm not mistaken, I believe went to school with one Chris Thompson. So I quickly had a look at the results at Richard Price, and I believe I've met Richard before, and it shows you how we connect at maybe a young age and where these journeys start for like the youngsters on the screen in front of us, and how the athletics community does just come together and how we do run as one. So that's my highlight for today. And what about yourself?
Well, it has been wonderful to see this community element alongside our masses. And one element that I think the London Marathon do fantastically well is incorporating the wheelchair events into our elite starts. And that finish between Eden Rainbow Cooper and Sammy Kinghorn, that was ferocious. I thought the Great North Run last year was close between those two, and it couldn't have been closer here again at the big half. So to see those wheelchair athletes as well, and the fact that they get the focus through the first bit of the race, they're always the first athletes to come past the spectators. I love seeing that element as well. You couldn't beat the diversity we've had here today at the big half, and just hats off to the London Marathon events team for putting on another fantastic event and just showing how much sport and athletics can touch so many people's lives.
Couldn't agree more, Hannah. And we've chosen as a team to meet up. I have a coaching group, and we're meeting up after this in a pub in London, down in Greenwich, and I hope many others are meeting up and celebrating their success that has been achieved on the roads of London today. Many still to come through that finish line. We've seen some unbelievable finishes, it's fair to say. The men's wheelchair kicked us off, followed by the women's wheelchair, as you mentioned, as your highlight, and that just continued all the way through. In the men's race in particular, run till the last sort of kilometre. But now it's all about the masses and their stories, and lots and lots of inspirational stories out there. And not to forget our relay as well going on. We saw Perry at the start. I wonder how the relay team are getting on. Another one of our wheelchair athletes there going across Tower Bridge. Just so many inspirational people out on the roads of London, which is just fantastic to see.
I'm sure there's a good number of people watching that are doing the Great North Run next week. Wish you the very best of luck if you're targeting that, or maybe another mass participation race. Hopefully you've already been on your run and you're feeling smug, or you're inspired by watching all these other athletes complete their runs. But if you enjoyed the coverage as well, there will be more road running on BBC. That Great North Run will take place on Sunday, BBC One, 10 AM for Mo Farah's very last race ever. He caps off that glittering career on the streets of Newcastle. But if you've enjoyed watching these athletes and thinking you want to get involved, do check out the London Marathon events website. They put on a fantastic number of events in the capital, everything ranging from 1 mile up to the full 26.2. Of course, the iconic London Marathon will return next April. But if you've been inspired by these stories, and hopefully the diversity on show today at the big half has helped you see yourself in these 15,000 athletes that are running down the roads, and you can be inspired to get involved.
As you say, Hannah, the big mile as well, and the daily mile in schools now, which London Marathon help fund. That's a great initiative for kids to get involved, but it's a good starting point for adults as well. Why not start off with a kilometre or a mile, the way of getting involved, and then you can build that up if you wish to. But all these great initiatives, and all big part of the big weekend. We anticipated around 16,000 across the mile, the relay and the big half itself.
Well, waves from the athletes down there and waves from
Well,
us.
here we are. I found you, Casa. We're at the finish and we can see all the runners that are coming up behind us. Some of them look tired. Some of them look like they haven't done anything.
Oh, it's been brilliant. I mean, I know I haven't been hiding from you, I promise. There's just been too many inspirational, brilliant people to talk to. I've been having too much fun. And as you say, there's been so many inspirational people here. It really, really means a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah, and what's been your highlight, do you reckon?
I mean, for me, it's been soaking in the jubilation of everyone without actually having to have done all the hard work of doing the run myself. I mean, the joy on people's faces, and I feel like, yeah, I can bask in that, you know?
And we caught up, of course, with Astra as well, didn't we? And they were amazing because actually what we are seeing here is the community and how much it means to people and well-being. And I think there might be a few people that might be at home thinking, oh, I fancy that. But it's difficult, isn't it, to be able to just get up and go. But Catch the 5K, all of those amazing things can help people run.
Oh, I hope so, totally. I mean, this is a prime example of what you can do. I've been speaking to people who a year and a half ago had never run before, and now they're doing a half marathon, and that is all it takes, just step after step, inch by inch, and you can do it, I think. I might even put some running trainers on.
Those kicks look good. Those kicks look good, not to run a half marathon in.
Yeah.
One thing I will say, Sir Mo Farah today, his last race in London, said he wasn't feeling too well, but actually that fourth place finish was pretty good.
Yeah, it absolutely was, and for him, it's just a brilliant sign of how many people turned up to say thank you, I think, as well, for an incredible career, for all the highlights he's given us, and to be able to cheer him up. Fantastic, really inspirational.
Well, Big Half 2023 is done and dusted, but the runners are still coming through. People from charities, clubs and communities also finishing across that line. What a joy it's been. Thank you for watching. I guess Castle and I will see you next year. We might have better trainers on as well. Goodbye. Just crossed the line, looking glorious doing it as well, but you've got a particular story as to why you're here today.
Yeah, June the 13th, I had a stroke, lost my eyesight for 3 hours, left side, arm and leg. I was admitted into Addenbrooke's Hospital, Cambridge, stayed there for 3 days. I didn't know if I was going to be able to do this, but sheer determination and willpower. Got back out there after a month or so training. Got back out there after a month or so training. I've only done one.
You've just no worries. Andy, you've just It's your Andy. Congratulations. You should be so proud.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Cheers.